All right, we should be good now.
I mean, you know, the Abdul ones are off like 10 or 15, but 25 points is a
Yeah,
lot.
I don't think that he's going Crowley specifically, who I endorse. And if you're in Wisconsin, stop watching this. Go to the polls right now and go vote for Crowley. But yeah, I don't have much hope, unfortunately. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
I endorse Kylie too. She's wild. She showed up to the polls today wearing like a pantsuit and a skirt, like tucked into Air Jordan, I think like fours. Like her, she is wild. I don't know what to. I don't know what to
I'm
think.
gonna be real with you.
I don't know what to think. She's just a wild card.
Didn't check her outfit. That's not one of my.
That's what I really care about when I vote.
Fashion sense or not. I am
It's like that one account on Twitter.
Lonerbox wanted in on the Hutch conversation. I'm sad Hutch shut it down before Lonerbox came in. That would have been interesting. But to my audience, I went around. I did the tour today promoting this conversation. We went to Hutch's stream. We talked with Hutch. We went to Pisco's stream. We talked with Pisco. But yeah, it's we'll see how it goes. But let me DM Destiny, see where he's at. I saw him watching our debate from yesterday. So everything will be fresh on the mind.
Woohoo!
Well, I guess he's using the restroom. According to my audience, we got P Watch on Destiny right here. So anyway, if you're liking this content, gang, if you like what I do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, throw me money. Riz, what the fuck for a member from 7 months at a tier 2? Wow, this is a first. Wick somehow has a person I saw get murdered yesterday on a panel. I didn't know he had the power of resurrection. Like, I have powers that you cannot comprehend, okay?
True.
That you won't understand. I am making moves that you can't even imagine, okay?
True. Ooh,
so yeah.
a continuation. Yes, I fixed it. Yeah, so what was happening is the sub goal thing was showing my old Twitch follower thing and the alerts. So it was something where Streamlabs. So I'm using normal OBS now because it's a lot better. And I used Streamlabs OBS in the past, and that was for Twitch. And so what was happening was the events underneath the camera here, this little thingy. Also, my chat's not working. That's great. This is lovely. Maybe if I untick these. I'm so happy. Anyway. Isn't life great? Isn't life great, Blanket? Anyway, the shit wasn't working, so it took me a minute. And I also had to change my main screen because I realized I was doxing myself. So yeah, I'll be deleting all of the VODs now because I don't know where or when I've done that. So anyway.
Writing a different plane. But it should be fun. Should be interesting. We'll see how it goes, right?
Not like anyone gives a fuck who I am, but whatever.
How you doing otherwise? How's life?
Amazing. I love talking about the DSA. And all the DSA wants to do is give America health care. And I don't know why people have such a big problem with them.
True.
I can't tell if you're baiting me. Okay, we got our guests in the chat. We got everything set up. Welcome, Destiny. You're live, by the way.
Thanks for warning me.
Just making sure, right? Okay, well, welcome.
Dick out on stream. Why didn't you warn me, Wick?
It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and serious, from the silly to the political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. We're going to have an interesting conversation today. Destiny, you made a tweet a few days ago, and I'm going to read it back to you, and I wonder if you stand by what you said. In a quote tweet to our interlocutor,
God, I look like
Joe
a fucking
here,
elderly person.
you say this.
Oh
Okay,
my
never
God.
mind. I think this
Should
person
just shave
is
it.
an op. LOL. Every single message and statement is
I'm gonna
literally
look like
the
Wick
exact
soon.
perfect thing that libs need to do to get eaten alive by the far left. I'm wondering, I guess, just to
You know what? Better to look like Wick than to do whatever the fuck Destiny's doing here.
start off, do you
Oh my
stand by that
Lord.
statement, or was it just kind of made in jest?
No, I stand by it.
Okay, what makes you think that Jola here is an op, and what is an op in your mind? What is he doing that you find to be cringeworthy?
Like, if I were to think of, like, I need to insert, like, a lib-friendly person to slowly siphon more people off further and further left, like, what are the strategies that I would want this person to engage in? So you have to do a little bit of, like, mudslinging at the left to earn some credit. You have to do a little bit of support from your moderate Dems to earn some credit. But by and large, you're engaging in the same types of lies and misinformation about your moderate Dems. You're never really attacking your further left people that hard. You're always, like, explicitly endorsing and supporting the further left people. And then you're constantly trying
Yikes,
to
Destiny has the
hand
same
wring
take
your
as
longer or
me.
tone police people that are
Best.
being critical of further
Stealing
left
my
people.
takes.
Like, that would be, like, the ideal plant, I
Well,
guess I would
Jola,
say.
how
And I
do
feel
you
like that-
respond to the allegations? I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead.
I would say that recently, for issues that are kind of connected, kind of disconnected, and I am not talking about the personal issues that Destiny has with these online communities when I talk about this, but I do believe there is some sort of radicalization here where you have Peace Goes, anti-Semitic now, Soy Pills, a socialist sweeper, Josiah is completely just disconnecting from all of DGG, and it's just like, it's at the point where you need to have some contact to other communities to influence them. And it's very concerning to me that Destiny has no confidence in the ability for liberals to do what he's describing the left does to liberals, but for liberals to do that to the left. And I'm somebody, which I don't blame anybody for not knowing my entire track record or anything, because I'm not very big on YouTube.
True, it's concerning.
Or in general. But I have criticized Hassan Piker heavily, for example, about being pro-Russia, attacking Crimea, saying they're ethnic Russians, repeating blatant Russian propaganda, doing propaganda for Mao and the Chinese government. So I have all these similar criticisms. But like individuals like Adam Mockler, I understand the pragmatic solution to build my...
You need to... Yeah. No. I've got it up on the other screen, buddy. I am aware. Yes, I am following. It looks so good. It looks delicious. It's really funny when these people are like, this Francesca Hong person, kind of a landslide. Next minute, the black vote comes out.
Coalition and to move Democrats
and
in a better,
mogs
in a
the
better direction.
socialist.
And I think that's the primary disagreement that we're going to be having here.
My mic's a bit quiet today.
Response to that, Destiny, or?
I guess there was one part of that I didn't understand, where you said that I don't trust liberals to do the same thing that DSA types are doing to liberals. But could you expand on that statement? I don't understand that.
So I remember back when Adam Mockler spoke to... Am I still connected? You guys just... Okay, we're all good. Back when Adam Mockler spoke to Hassan, and some dumbasses in your community, which no offense to you, but I think you might have been upset as well. They were like, why is Adam Mockler not going hard on Hassan? Now, in my opinion...
Well, yeah. Hassan is like a very controversial figure, and you're like every single interview he gets are softball questions. Like, that's a pretty reasonable thing to critique, but
Yeah,
okay.
no, Adam Mockler is very intelligent. I think he's probably like the young LeBron James of liberal politics. I think many of us agree. He knows
Deep
that
throat
in
him,
order
bro.
to vie
Dance
for
on it.
influence in our coalitions and a competitive coalition, which we need to operate, it's difficult, but we need to operate that. He needs to not go out and just be like, there's not going to be a big, you shocked your dog with the power of Zeus and you are terrorist and you are whatever. That's never going to happen. If anything, most of Hassan's fans, which
Why not?
You agreed with me a few weeks ago when we chatted, or they see themselves as normie and progressives. So when I see someone like Adam Mockler make that pragmatic decision to not go scorched earth with Hassan, I see very clearly the role he wants to play and the strategy he's using to get credibility with Hassan's fan base. So whenever there's a flashpoint, so whether it's an election or another big controversy or another October 7th or Ukraine or whatever it might be, then Adam Mockler has legitimacy with Hassan's audience where he can be convincing to Hassan's audience and pull Hassan's viewers away from him way more effectively. Like, I think you have little to no impact in that arena. And people like Adam Mockler, Josiah, Pisco, you can argue they're good or bad at it, but I think that is...
Okay, this is going to trigger me. I'm fixing the chat. I just need to do it. For some reason it's not showing up. It's annoying me. We're going to fix it. Okay, we're gonna Can I just delete this? All right, someone type in chat. Someone who's really cool. AKA me. It didn't work. Oh, there it is. It's just very tiny. Little tiny baby chat. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Why is it like that? That's okay, whatever. I don't know. I guess we do that. Tiny. Yeah, no, right. That's tiny.
The role they are trying to play, and myself as well. But your community assumes all of us are either useful idiots or, you don't think we can be effective in doing the reverse of what socialists do to your community.
So the reason why I would say that they can't do the reverse is because you won't let that happen. So there's two easy questions that I can ask here. So the first one is, if Adam's fans watched the conversation that Adam had with Hassan, and if Hassan's fans watched the conversation that Adam had with Hassan, who's more likely to be pulled in the other direction?
I believe that in the real world, Adam Mockler...
I'm just saying in general, fans of these people, not like in the real world on CNN. I'm just saying...
More towards Adam Mockler, for sure.
Okay, I think you're 100% wrong.
Have confidence in liberals, you don't. That's the issue here. You want to act like we lost already to DSA. I don't agree.
Okay. Is that what...
I think that's a fair statement. I was thinking about this last night, and there is a bit of a defeatist mentality with a lot of libs right now, where they just kind of just go, oh, DSA are taking over, we need to panic, yada, yada, yada. I would really... So, like, one of the things that I think a lot of the libs should have done is when, what is his name? Abdul El Said won against Haley Stevens. Like, why doesn't Stevens just run as an independent? She would get a lot more of the moderate vote that aren't Dem voters, right? I think, something like that, at the very least. Who gives a fuck about DSA candidates, Well, actually, to be fair, I only found out recently that Abdul isn't even a DSA candidate, but still, I don't know why people just kind of go, well, we didn't win the primary, so it's Jova. Like, just run them as an independent. Crowdfund for the liberal candidates, things like that. I would really like to see that shit.
You think I'm going to say? I'm going to say I have
I
no
think
confidence in
that-
liberals. What do you think I'm going
No,
to say?
you'll probably say that we have liberals go on these shows. They are not antagonistic. Meanwhile, the left can be antagonistic towards us as much as they want and have
I think that's seen as being a sore loser, and there might be filing rules. Ow. Pretty sure people have done it in the past. But yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'll have to have a look into it. Fuck your internet? You know what? Fuck your internet. Also, the chat's not lasting long enough, but whatever. I don't care.
endless charitability.
Fuck
And
blankets
when we do the
internet.
opposite, they just shun us. I assume we're going to say something along those lines.
Nice. Okay, that was good. So a more correct answer did exist in your mind. You just decided to say the retarded one. That's fine. So Hassan has prepared that
Base.
conversation. Hassan does not openly and blatantly attack people who are friendly-ish towards him. He's very explicit and very clear to that in his audience when he says things like, "Oh, like I think Brian messed up here."
Okay, you know why? Let me check. Is the stream in 4K? I don't know.
Deleting this tweet, guys. Like, I think that, but he's not an enemy, guys, right? But for people like Hutch or like Lonerbox, he signals
Okay,
these
never
people are
mind, we're
full-on
good.
enemies. You agree that Hassan does that signaling very explicitly, right? Or do you?
100%.
Okay. So in a conversation where Hassan has already signaled to his whole audience who Adam Mockler is and how to treat Adam Mockler, and when Hassan is the one trying to control the pace of that conversation, which he did halfway through, he was like, "Bro, why are you trying to debate me so much?" I don't see how a Hassan fan watching Mockler is going to come away thinking like, "Man, this Adam guy made a lot of really good points." Like, they already know all the points that Adam's going to make. Hassan does a huge engagement already with like lib left.
Yes, Cuomo ran as an independent against Mamdani. Jesus. Yeah, but Cuomo's a piece of shit, so I don't really care what he does. Fuck it. Fuck him. You know how bad you have to be to like... Yeah, I know he was a Dem candidate, but he was also a piece of shit. You know how, like, a lot of people... Like, someone pointed this out the other... I think it was Wick, actually. Like, Mamdani barely beat Cuomo. Like, barely beat him. Like, that's so fucking funny. Like, they brag about winning New York, and he almost lost to fucking Cuomo, the guy who was like a pest, sex pest and shit, doing the sex pest meme, but for real. It's fucking crazy.
Media. His fans
It's not the
already
brag you
know
think it
all
is.
of those people and all those arguments. Adam Mockler's fans might not have dipped in as much to the far left Hassan types, but it's not like Adam Mockler's position in that debate was significantly removed from the positions that he actually has. But Hassan was made a lot more palatable in that debate than he would be watching terrorist attacks and cheering them on Twitch.
True.
That's why I would say that in that conversation, a neutral Mockler fan would be more likely to have a much more favorable view of Hassan coming out than like a neutral Hassan fan who basically already knows what Adam Mockler is all about.
Out of
My
curiosity
question,
to Destiny,
yeah, sure.
just real quick, out of curiosity to Destiny, what is there any?
Same thing with AES. It's barely winning. Yeah, I know, right? That was a really rough election result. That's why, like, with the Francesca Hong shit, like, if they lose here, they're gonna look so fucking bad. Because everyone keeps telling me that these leftists are so strong and they're gonna win, and it's like they're barely winning, and then by the looks of Francesca Hong, she's losing. Even with Republicans backing her, it's like, fucking hell.
Thing that Mockler could have done in that conversation to change that dynamic for you, right? Like, is there anything?
I mean, it
during
depends
the
on what
conversation-
Mockler's views are, and it depends on what he's trying to accomplish with his audience. But I mean, I would want to fixate on some differences because there are beliefs that I think Hassan has that are beyond the pale for what I would want in my political party, and I wouldn't want my audience to be falling into those types of, I guess I don't know if you call them radicalization traps or whatever else, but I wouldn't want my audience to like think that I'm supportive of that.
That's fair. You
Sure.
had something to say, Jolo? I just wanted to ask that question before you went through.
Yeah, so it's very important to distinguish what are we using to measure our units of success. So this can be, online followers. It can be a media environment that we're influencing. It can be
Oh, my
a
nose
vote
looks
total.
red.
So for Adam Mockler, I believe that litmus tests that reside in
You could tell I've been sick lately. Like, look at this shit. Look how red my nose is. Fucking hell.
demands that result in real world changes. So vote blue no matter who, for example, I think is a huge tool for liberals, which my response to you initially was that
Well,
it's
wait,
a
real
very
quick,
dumb
just
idea.
going back.
Sure.
Do we disagree with my take on how I view the neutral Mockler fan and the neutral Hassan fan viewing like that debate? Because that was
In
my
an
reason why
online
I would feel like
context, yeah, I agree in an online context, but this is where I have no confidence in Hassan's politics to survive outside of the internet. So when I talk about flashpoints and vote blue no matter who, when there's another big election and Hassan is a little bitch baby about like not endorsing someone, I need Adam Mockler there, at least, somewhat palatable to like Hassan's fan base to be the guy being like super rah vote Democrat. And Keith Edwards, he sounded like a dumbass in that other conversation from a week or two ago, but he was a cheerleader for voting for Kamala Harris. So far lefties that followed Hassan versus Keith Edwards, I would rather far lefties follow Keith Edwards for the overall pragmatic consequence or outcomes of overall votes moving towards the Democrats' direction. So I think Adam Mockler, there's more concrete demands that Adam would make with his content, and it's more actionable, where Hassan will fade into obscurity the moment that the moment like moderate Dems have good candidates.
This is absolutely the most retarded fucking take. The only reason why Hassan is relevant for like all of these fucking, primary things is because people are looking at his following online and going, we need to appeal to that. Like,
against the DSA types.
Sure. So then the second question, because I said we'd have two questions regarding that. Well, so the first was the performance, where I feel like a neutral viewer of both fans is going to be more pulled towards Hassan afterwards. They're going to get a more palatable view of
Yes.
Hassan. The second question I would ask is, have you ever in your entire life seen any of these lib-left people that have been cozying up to these weirdo commie types? Have they ever like been able to call them out on their platforms to hold them accountable for anything? Can we think of a single example of this ever happening ever?
Now that's where I would. Here's probably the issue you have with the other creators I mentioned at the beginning.
Well, wait, hold on. You can answer and then give me your longer answer. But I was just, do you think has that ever happened ever? And then you can give your longer answer. But I'm curious, have you ever seen that happening ever?
No, recently there's been kids gloves in independent media for people like Hassan.
So it did happen in the past, or because you said recently, implying
It's
that in the
a
past it was
relatively
happening?
new phenomenon, so I haven't seen
Okay,
it
so
yet.
it's never happened. Okay, and then go give me your longer answer.
Well, I could probably prepare if it never happened. I think that's where the real world consequences did smack the left back in the face, and the left can take a back seat when it comes to real life organizing in politics. And a lot of these DSA elections I view as flukes. So how transferable is Hassan's political movements into the real world? I would argue not very much, but Adam Mockler would be more effective in moving people his direction. Now, when we talk about
why would he be more effective? He doesn't. Anyway, I'll be right back. I just need to go do something disgusting with my nose. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Oh my god, it looked so fucking homeless. Let's go.
How we approach these
Oh.
independent media platforms. If you see Pod Save America give Hassan an easy interview, and the portrayal, let's say someone from their fan base goes on your video, and I think you called him like a mindless, a dumb fuck idiot, like that one guy, like John Favreau or something, because he was like cushioning the blow for the questions he was asking Hassan. If a Pod Save America fan goes on your channel, or if a Pod Save America, if one of them looks at your channel, they are very there's a very little likelihood they'd ever invite you on to their platform to have a alternative opinion. And when you are on platforms like the Bulwark, after you talked to Tim Miller, he was talking to Pete Buttigieg about tankies, and Americans don't even know what tankies means. I'm not sure if you were the main influence for Tim Miller talking about tankies, but that type of language is not transferable to real politics, and I just feel like there's better ways to attack it.
I have
I don't know. Every part of that was meaningless. I don't know what that was even responsive to. When you talk about like Adam Mockler can have more reach in the real world because of the networks he's on in his messaging, I agree with that. Nothing about that requires him to cozy up to commies. He can do all of that without doing that. So I don't know what.
Is he cozying up to that?
Whoa. 86% in. Crowley's in the lead. Let's go. Whoa. Jesus, it's close.
Or just keeping the possibility for like coalition, like an off ramp from keeping the off ramp
Regardless
available
of what
for
he's
Hassan
doing, I'm just
fans.
saying that if Adam Mockler never contacts far left communities, nothing changes about his reach at all. He doesn't go on to CNN or whatever to talk to Hassan's audience. He's not getting big new reach talking to Hassan's audience. All of those people probably know who he is anyway, but they're much further left. And then even when you're bringing up other people, you brought up that Keith Edwards guy.
This is true. Like, a more moderate audience is like not going to appeal to Hassan's already extreme audience, right? They're just going to think of everything that they disagree with, right? Whereas a more moderate audience is going to see the more extreme being like normalized and seeing like all of these niceties being shared and common ground being met between him and Adam, and go, oh, well, maybe there's like not necessarily so much to disagree with there, right? Maybe there's something to work with. You know?
He was a Kamala supporter. Yes, you can find these people, but I feel like sometimes people try to cite these as like, well, these guys are part of a broad coalition. But no, I think you're just finding a bunch of people who are more radicalized, who have been more moved down the pipeline because these systems are working. Like, yeah, he used to support Kamala. Now he's a fucking super DSA far lefty type. That Umish voter guy that everybody's so mad about or whatever, whether they're mad about the guy himself or mad about me for spotlighting it so much, that guy was also like a McMorrow supporter. It looked like, and if you dug more into his past, he seemed like he was a little bit more moderate. But like a lot of these people become super radicalized because of this one-way system we have where we can't really critique the far left that much because a whole bunch of people like you're going to say, well, I don't really think it's effective. And for the far left people, I don't know. It seems like they're gaining more popularity. It seems like it's working decently well for them.
Yeah, a question I had for you, Jola, right? Because you mentioned that I tell me if this is mischaracterizing your argument, but you seem to be arguing that if we are mean to, or if we are too mean or cross the threshold of meanness towards people like John Favreau or other people we feel are running cover, right, for the left, that they will not come to our show and that it will limit our reach. Is there any conditions where we can be mean to these people, right? Like, is there a line that they can cross where it's now acceptable to be mean to Hassan or someone that is running cover for Hassan, like, say, I don't know, John Favreau or Pisco or Josiah or whoever, right?
I agree there are times to be mean, but I would not do anything that is terminating a possible relationship. So we're in a competitive
Can you give me an example
coalition.
of a time to be mean? That would be okay to be mean in your mind.
So I might make a video about, I have a lot of Hassan and Des.
What? Fuck is Melongate? Okay, cool. Gross.
Destiny fans in my chat, and I
Sorry.
have moved both of them, in my opinion, to the middle of like progressive and more like a pragmatic liberal sense. And the Hassan fans will come into my chat and talk about like,
I'm going back and forth between you and Foods, but I find the debate she's watching boring. Yeah. Which one is that? Is that the Owlish one? I was actually tempted to go and watch that as well. Because, yeah. Let me see, actually.
Out of the house. I guess that's
Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah, it's that guy. Yeah. He's a meme. Yeah.
like you know, Hassan wanting healthcare and just being a normal progressive. And I'll say, you know, buddy, I really don't think it's good to, you know, be pro the authoritarian Chinese government. And you might think it's dumb to be that light on people, but it also keeps people's minds open. You can be stern and be direct about your criticisms of someone without calling someone, like if I'm working on a job with someone that I know I need to work with in the future, if I call them or their boss a dumb mother effer, lunatic, piece of shit with a terrible family background and whatever, some things are going to be so beyond the pale that that rhetoric is going to cut me off from ever having
someone you work with. My dude, he's a political commentator. Like, people gonna say shit about him. What do you mean?
influence in that community.
This is totally non-responsive. If the conversation is just like, is there certain rhetoric that I engage in that's really radical and cuts me off from certain audiences, that like I would almost certainly grant that that's probably true. It's the way that I market myself online. I'm not saying that. Do you think that I'm saying that every single liberal needs to say that Hassan is a dog-shocking sex freak?
Oh, I'm saying
You
that
think that my
your
criticism
audience
Well, no,
is
wait,
getting
we're not
the
talking-
sense.
Are we just talking about just my audience, or is this about like the broader
That's-
like lib left discourse versus?
Is the one top left Destiny? Yes, that is Breastiny. What do you mean, is that Destiny? Yeah, that's how you know it's Destiny.
Like socialist discourse?
That's the issue, is you talk about marketing
One on the top right is some retarded guy, I don't know.
yourself online. I'm talking about pragmatic action, and your audience does not follow pragmatic action, in my opinion, if they're going to be kicking out Pisco and Josiah. And even myself, someone who criticizes Hassan and the far
No one's kicking out Josiah. Josiah's ours. You can't have him.
left all the time. It's pretty ridiculous. It's not very conducive to coalition building, and this is a long
Jolan. Yeah. His name's Joe Lan.
battle vying for influence in the Democratic Party between coalitions. That's why Vote Blue No Matter Who was so important, because that is the guiding principle. When it all comes down to it, like William Lawrence won in Michigan. He's a far left DSA Sunrise Movement candidate. He already, and he won because the field was split between two like more moderate candidates. He already, right when he won his primary, endorsed Hakeem Jeffries for the House. That signals to me that they are not seeking to destroy the
I just wanted to say, he unfollowed Destiny and stopped posting on the subreddit. Based. Oh, wait, really? No! Why, Josiah? But he was so cool. Damn. I guess we all hate Josiah. Rip. I think it's complicated. I think it was just, I think there was like also a few members of the community being really harsh on Josiah. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to brag and, because Food Shops does this all the time. She talks about her community, right? Well, we're a community, even though I have no community, but whatever. I just wanted to say I'm super proud of the fact that I have more women in my chat than in any Asmongold chat, So I think Hutch said it best when he said they were just a little naive. Yeah. I think that's fair. But Destiny he's the kind of guy that doesn't mince words sometimes. Yeah, woot for the ladies. Yes. Oh my god, I just did an Indian accent. I should just kill myself. Oh god, that's embarrassing.
Democratic Party.
Anyway.
Anyone that is not seeking to destroy the party, who wants to compete aggressively within it and still move it forward, we need to be making some peace and working with them.
What does this have to do with the question that I asked?
Because, so if we have 100 Hassan viewers or 100 progressives or 100 members of DSA, DSA is largely going to be younger people. They have the ability to change over time, believe it or not. Many people want to join the DSA. I see DSA posts often saying, can you please join and help us moderate the DSA if you join? And you probably think that's a commie trap or whatever. But if you have 100 people who follow that kind of politics and your message, are you seeking to influence anybody who's
is very PC in messaging. Yeah, but I kind of appreciate that a little bit. I feel like sometimes I'm kind of over the amount of times people have to say rape in this space. It's just kind of annoying. Like, can we come up with better analogies that don't involve raping someone, just stuff like that. I understand it's just like a spicy way of explaining things and that, but it's like, fuck, dude, sometimes people need to just stop.
A member of the DSA to leave it, or are you just here to like yell about them and make people not join the DSA?
My goal is not to de-radicalize DSA members or like believers. No, that's not my goal. My goal is to strengthen liberal arguments and call out the further left stuff that's like growing and cannibalizing a part of the party. So my function,
yeah, Destiny is definitely the opposite.
Is strengthening the lib left resistance against the infiltration from the far left element. I'm not trying to de-radicalize DSA members.
Okay, I would argue that when I try to go into this, I'm trying to explain the thought process that someone like Josiah also shares. I think him and I are very aligned in this, where it's very complicated to orchestrate and to be a part of a competitive coalition like this, where you may say, if there's 100, more far left progressives, maybe your message can reach to 1 through 5 of them because of whatever reasons, because of the media landscape, because of your reputation.
The problem with having far left elements in a liberal democracy and a pro-liberalism party is they have ulterior goals to what the standard Democratic Party's goals are. Like, what are the standard Democrats want? They want to resolve issues with crime, but also tackle racial inequality within the justice system. They want to have a thriving economy while also tackling, income inequality. And they want to, overall improve education and whatnot without overstepping boundaries for like families and stuff like that, right? And what do leftists want? Overthrow the entire system and kill the elites so that we can become the elites. That is what leftists want. So it's like, who are we appealing to, Well, not we, because I'm not fucking an American, but whatever.
Whatever that might be. But for Josiah, pondering politics, and he doesn't comment on, he's definitely not going to come out in the left moving forward. Let's say he can move 30 of them over or 60 of them over of that 100. So when we take these certain actions, it's not an attempt to be like snaky or whatever. It's an attempt to broaden your ability to influence different coalitions and to vie for influence in different coalitions in the Democratic Party, which is why I attack Cori Bush, who lost. She is such a sore loser. She was in for one term. She got her ass kicked by Wesley Bell. She blamed AIPAC. She came back again this year. She's like, oh, AIPAC is off the table, blah, blah, blah. She lost by even more, I'm pretty sure, this election.
Don't worry, we'll run to country better. The country better. Okay. True. leftist, like everything becomes really easy when you don't care about the institutions and can just like force things through. Never mind the consequences of those actions, right?
I went super hard on Cory
Sure, Maoist, I believe that, bro. Yeah, true.
Bush, and I'll go super hard on Andrew Cuomo, because I just want pragmatic elements to succeed in the Democratic Party.
Pragmatic elements. That's the thing too. Like anyway, Maoist are genuinely like really fucking delusional. Holy shit. How can you have 20 million people fucking die and be like, guy's kind of based. I got his little red book.
And I want everyone to know I can be a conduit to have that conversation and in my
Conduit?
own organizing. I'm not going to shut out someone for being far
reference?
left, even
Hello?
if they are a 20-year-old dipshit that believes in like
My mic's too
communism or
loud. Hang
whatever.
on. Now it's too loud.
Okay,
Fuck my
that's
life.
fine, but so again, nothing you said was really like you don't have
True.
to shut out like 20-year-old commie DSA type people, especially people who are just followers of other content creators. What I'm saying, the big argument that I've had with people is that fundamentally you will never be able to compete against that other side when it comes to taking members. They're always going to be funneling more from you than you are from them if they have no rules and you're held to a very restrictive rule set for how you can respond to them. So for all the times you keep saying, well, my goal is to show them something better, my goal is to convert them, blah, 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 my answer to that is always, you're never getting an example, or you're never going to get an opportunity to do that. That's why I ask, like, can you think of a single example where Josiah or Peace Corps, anybody
Crowley is in the lead by about 300 votes, by the way.
has been able to go onto breaking points or has been able to go onto any of these far left areas and call them out? And I know the answer to that is no, because I know how they operate, and they never will. That'll never, ever, ever happen. There will never be a time where Pisco or Josiah are having like a big argument, substantive argument with Kyle Kalinske or Crystal Ball. I'm 100% confident that will never happen. But
I agree with
you
that.
can say otherwise. Okay, then
And
in
that's
that case,
bad.
then all you're doing is facilitating an audience transfer to that further left area. Because what it looks like, and what the average person's perception that engages in these spaces looks like, is it looks like the left people, who are me, are like pragmatic, maybe left people, but like the better morally pure position is the further left position, which are like the Hassan type. That's like the
Where the fuck are all the Francis Hong votes? Mike from PA, chuckling from the couch with a suspicious stomach bulge. True. How do you spell his name? Crowley.
oppression. These guys are the ones who are like idealistic and they really want to do the best they can. And I guess sometimes we have to make these like dirty moderate deals if we're just trying to get some stuff done maybe, but like the better position are the further left people. And then that's reinforced by the fact that they can infinitely attack people to their right and then never really get attacked by people to their right. And that one-way transfer is just not possible. This is why I say there are no coalitions with people where the attacks are only one way.
My goal is to have Democrats beat Republicans, and also to have Democrats elect Democrats who are able to sustain powerful liberalism to correct the faults in the system right now. So when we have the DSA, I do not agree. The way you speak about DSA, I would assume they are so powerful and subversive. They're in every corner of American politics. And you said about Keith Edwards and myself even, that's exactly what I would say if I was trying to subvert the party. Oh, don't worry about the DSA. They're tiny. They are tiny. I'm very confident we can
Tiny? But I thought he was tiny.
Power the DSA. I'm very confident Daria Lisa won't be around long. I'm very confident Francesca Hong won't be around long. All of our top leading Senate candidates, whether it's Turek in Iowa, whether it's Ossoff or Talarico, the only one that's more further left is going to be El-Sayed. And even he describes himself as a capitalist, and he's moderating. He's forcing the more socialist types to moderate on issues like Ukraine already, saying that it's conditional aid, and Ukraine fits those conditions, so we're going to help fund Ukraine. And Dylan Burns is a fantastic example of someone who is in it. He's in it with a lot of these progressive lefty types. Dylan Burns is the perfect
What am I drinking? Drinking Monster. Because I'm a monster. I'm like Andrew Tate. I'm a monster.
Example of someone
I'm not like Andrew Tate. That was a joke. Stumbling will get the reference.
that picks an issue like Ukraine and uses that as their key point, their driving point, to have a litmus test in the real world, not like, oh, you know, do you think Hassan shot this dog? But in the real world, to have pragmatic political change. I just don't agree the DSA is that big and scary where we need to worry about, oh, we go on Crystal Ball's platform. I think we can really only benefit from that. I'm not seeing it, and the top presidential candidates are all moderates. Maybe AOC is like 4th, 5th, or 6th with like 10% of the vote. I'm just not seeing that. They are successful.
I just lost like all of the women viewers that I had. I am now just as bad as Mangold.
Successful in crafting the online media
very
conversations.
sad.
But in my concern of democratic politics, I just don't see the success that you see from DSA.
Okay, how you said you're 20 years old? 21?
26.
Oh, you're 26. Okay.
6,
Have
7.
you ever heard the word MAGA in 2015?
No.
Okay. So these people didn't exist at all. Obviously, Donald Trump becomes very popular and then kind of fosters this new movement in the Republican Party. I don't think this argument.
I'm still here. Shut up. You are not like that Tate POS. Are you sure about that? I'm just kidding.
Of like they're not popular now is a very compelling one because one, they seem to now have a coherent political program that involves a media apparatus, and then 2, they are becoming more popular, right? You agree they're more popular now than they were 4 years ago or 8 years ago, right? Slightly?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a huge jump.
You don't think Mamdani represents a huge entrenchment of DSA type power?
I think AOC already represented that. Mamdani is the only, he does have the ability to push it further. I do agree with that.
I think the executive of New York City.
I hope he's still shitting his pants in the Miami jail cell. Destiny should pay his bail. I'm just kidding. I look forward to Donald Trump instructing the DOJ to let him out and then him flying to Russia. Because that is definitely going to happen. Just an FYI.
Has more of an entrenchment power than a representative in Congress who, to get anything done, has been forced to moderate quite a bit. And I would argue is significantly less popular today than she was, especially when she was first elected. So I think that they have become more popular. They do have a coherent political program. They do have a media infrastructure that supports them. And now they've entrenched themselves in at least one office, potentially multiple after this midterm cycle, where they'll be able to hold the door open for other people. And I don't see, and this is the argument I've made a million times, is I don't see people on the lib left.
He's in the lead by 400 votes. No, actually 200 votes. Oh my God.
Nah,
he screwed up by calling Trump out on for the Iran war. Doesn't matter. They're both narcissists. They'll just glow each other up in a phone call, and then he'll be like, I gotta help him. He's a wonderful guy. Very strong, very powerful man.
Back on these people at all.
The admin is like Tate who?
Say you're never allowed to. And then there are people like you that say they're not a big deal. I'm curious,
Vladimir Putin will make a call.
When would you be concerned where you're like, okay, well, we need to dedicate like 5%?
Wouldn't it be funny if Vladimir Putin called Donald Trump and said, listen, we'll agree to a ceasefire if you let Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan come to Russia? And then they do that, and then they come to Russia, and then they immediately start the Ukraine war again? That'd be so fucking funny.
Of our media time to talking about this far left.
He would look so stupid.
I dedicate 5% of our media time talking about it. You dedicate like 60 or 70.
Your coverage directly? Did I
no,
ask
but
what would it take? Okay, so we're talking about in general, so like the Josiah and the Pisco types, right?
Justify your amount of coverage, maybe like 5% of Congress, not less than 1% that they are right now.
I'm not from my amount of coverage. I'm saying to like criticize them 5% of the time. What did I say with Josiah? Maybe for every 100 anti-Trump videos, you have like one anti-love video. These guys will basically never.
That was my saying, but fair enough. You're stealing valor here, Destiny. But go ahead.
I feel like I said it first, and you stole it from me. You didn't really. But
That's
regardless,
not true. I tweeted it out.
Based. Tell him, Wick. You came up with it first. I don't understand why my mic is clipping.
You may have read my tweet, but anyway.
Sure. Hold on. Also, a lot of these interjections you're giving are in bad faith. Just because I'll ask this question. Do you think that I'm telling Josiah and Pisco that they need to cover the left like I do, as much as I do? Have you ever heard me say anything remotely like that before?
True.
No.
Okay, so I don't know why you're saying to cover them as much as you do. I've never given that prescription. My issue is that they are never able to do it. And it seems like they basically never do. And then they're giving reasons why, and you've given reasons why they never should. So that's my issue. So at what point is the DSA large enough that maybe they should cover them 5% of the time in their coverage?
If we have a strong, it'll be large enough when we have enough DSA members to say things such as they're not going to be following the line of like Mamdani endorsing Jeffries.
Why are you waiting for them to be in power? Like, that's just such a silly thing to do.
Once they say they want to destroy the Democratic Party, which I think there might be one who wants to.
Oh, what? I've got 102 subs. Who subbed to my fucking thing, bro? What the hell? That's crazy. I got another sub.
To destroy the Democratic Party. Other than that, we need to compete for influence in the coalition. And when we talk about like overall media coverage and time covering them, I agree, like we can do more to cover them, but the real factional fights happen in the primaries, and you guys barely paid attention to the primaries until they were pretty much already over. Zoran Mamdani, the mayoral primary in New York, if you really think about that flashpoint, like if Zoran Mamdani had a real competitor that was not Andrew Cuomo, none of this would be possible. Do we agree that Zoran is like a huge gateway for what's happening right now for DSA, for these other like DSA members from New York?
Yeah, but that's my argument. They have a level of entrenchment that they didn't have before. But my question was, at what? So it's just a messaging then thing? Like if let's say that all of the DSA people lose their election somehow in the general in New York, and then let's say that Mamdani says we need to take over the Democratic Party, and they have even less power after the midterms, then you think it would be more of an issue because of the message?
I have confidence that reality will conflict with them, and it always does. They either crash back down to earth or they will be out of Congress. I don't think they'll be around very long. Or they'll have to, like, Zoran Mamdani had to keep Tish, the police commissioner of New York. She's like the biggest, like, pro-Israel, like, billionaire backed whatever, like, everything the left hates. He forced the DSA into submission to accept her for pragmatic political reasons. I think that's a sign that their power is very limited. Like, what has Zoran actually been able to get done?
Well, he endorsed 3 DSA candidates, one that everybody fucking complains about, and all.
Oh, gonna check in with the drama? Is there more drama? What drama? Why are people dramaing? No drama. Oh well.
Of them very handily swept their primaries and are going on to now be members of Congress. I would say that's a pretty big deal.
Okay, if a DSA candidate wins a competitive seat anywhere in the country, I will be worried if they win a competitive seat someday.
Do you consider the Wisconsin general election for governor? Is that like a competitive seat in your mind?
So that'd be a sign of Francesca Hong that we'd have to be very, very staunchly in the coalition, but also against her. So I would say that it's a completely harm reduction for her. So I do agree that's the biggest blip that we can see right now.
Wait,
she's a terrible candidate.
So do you think then that it would be worth, like, when do we cover her negatively then? Would you argue that we should cover her negatively in the general?
If she wins the general election and is able to be a popular governor, then I think it'll be a serious discussion. But I don't see that happening. I mean, I don't have much confidence that'll happen.
I don't know why you keep saying I don't have much confidence that'll happen. I'm not asking what your confidence is that'll happen. I'm just curious where the line is for you. Because if it's Mamdani is in one of the most powerful political positions in the United States, right, second to President. I mean, the mayor of New York City is a huge political office. So Mamdani is there. We might have a governor in Wisconsin that it might be DSA aligned. Once she's governor, we can talk negatively about her. So you want me to? So if I started to, or if Josiah Pisco or other people started to give negative coverage now of the new democratically elected Democrat Party governor of Wisconsin, that would be okay. You wouldn't view that as like just furthering party infighting.
Eliminate the threat of MAGA first, and then go ham on her. Is my position.
How does that eliminate the threat of MAGA? Wouldn't you be encouraging
have her win the
MAGA?
election first, and then go after her?
Well, but then what? Then somebody's going to have to primary her, and then there's going to be another general in the future. No, like wouldn't hurting her necessarily help the opposition party in the next election?
I don't think she'll be a successful governor and win her next primary. I think that's a big evaluation to make when you consider the future success of these ideas. I do not think she's going to be popular. I think it's a mistake that she's even in the lead. The candidate was going to kick her ass, but her one of her campaign advisors or workers like double counted all the donations and lied about where the expenditures were going. They were doing huge campaign finance violations. But Francesca should not even be in the race right now. But all the good candidates dropped out, had scandals where like Mandela Barnes had a scandal where like a former staffer said that he abused their power dynamic and they hooked up. So he had to drop out. The other woman had the financial issues, and then Crowley is the only option. And I know we were joking about that last night about how I was joking about it, how he joined back in the governor's race because his wife saw a bird sent from God, a message from God, and he's not polling very well. So it's a mistake. It's not like a huge example to me of the system working when all of the Democratic Party's presidential candidates, 80% of that or 90% is going to Pete Buttigieg, John Ossoff, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris is leading the polls. And a Democratic Party like that, maybe if there was an actual DSA candidate even polling, other than AOC at like 5 or 10%, we could have that conversation. But all of our Senate candidates are very, I'm just very confident in liberalism. I'm very confident in the political reality that no matter what arguments they make, no matter how much online domain they have, when shit really hits the concrete and we get on the run politically and elections come and go and 2028 comes around, I do believe I have trust in liberals that we're going to be able to pull it through. And I just think liberals are focused on destroying MAGA right now. And once MAGA loses the midterms, I am 100% on board right after the threat of MAGA is gone. To start up this conversation again.
Okay, I just don't feel like I feel like you're just trying to hand wave away everything by saying like, well, I don't think these people will ever be that popular, and you're not engaging with the reality that they are growing more popular, that their media is.
They're insanely popular. They're bigger than fucking liberal content creators right now. They are doing. I don't know, man. This is just completely delusional.
Quite influential. Do you agree that?
Hey, you need to change your settings so foods can raid into you. I don't even know how to do that. Hang on, let me Google it. Hang on. Hang on, let me just change my settings. Here we go, I found it. Oh my god, I'm so bad at this. Oh, so I could just do that. Okay. Go, man. Okay, it should work now. I think. If it didn't work, then I don't know, it's RIP.
Um, Okay, we're gonna raid into him right now. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. This has been the banger stream. I was feeling depressed last night. But
Based?
you know, this stream cheered me up a lot. So, yeah, thank you. Honestly, yeah,
Based?
genuinely, thank you.
Okay. Bruh. Alright, now everyone has to watch me watch a debate. It's great. Watch it still not work because I'm live.
Their media is far outsizing the power that they have, like in actual political office right now.
Yeah, the media makes them seem way
Wow. Hello, what a surprise. I didn't expect that. Hello, everyone.
bigger than they are.
Okay, which I would argue is problematic because it helps their candidates and it hurts our candidates, right? The mainstream.
We treat them like a boogeyman. We help them get more popular by bringing up, their Twitch streamers whenever a candidate loses or wins.
Welcome back, Stumbly.
Really, then why is it that they keep attacking the lib left for bringing their candidates up? Wouldn't they welcome it?
I would say that right now, whenever like you have the race in Michigan and a Democrat says, I can't vote for Abdullah Sayed because of Hassan Piker, the boogeyman, that's probably going to help aid in
Thank you, Food
Hassan's
Shops.
image growing. I treat them like kids. I
You're a
treat them like
legend.
they're kids who we handed like a game controller that they can't
Do
really
you think that's how
play
the
yet.
average Michigan voter is going to feel when clips of Hassan's insanity start getting repeated?
True. So
on
famous.
News cycles of him talking about, supporting.
To everyone watching, if you're like, hey, I don't really want to watch this guy, that's fine. But if you could like the stream before you go, I would really appreciate that, But if you do want to stick around, we're going to watch this and kind of following the Wisconsin governor race. As you can see, it is a lot closer than what was expected. Crowley could win. I hope he wins. But yeah, should be good. And yeah, thank you again, Food Shops.
Hezbollah and everything. Do you think that's going to be the average feeling of a Michigan voter in the general?
I think Abdul should separate from Hassan for sure and should denounce him, but I'm not convinced that Hassan Piker is going to be a big impact in this election.
I got you. That was not responsive at all. So,
Based.
do you think that the average Michigan voter is going to feel like Hassan is just an irrelevant boogeyman when there are clips of him and El Sayed being buddy-buddy, and then the stuff is being played of Hassan, like watching terrorist attacks and supporting it and talking about how it's better when rich white women are getting raped instead of middle-class or working-class white women? Do you think that they're going to be like, oh, this guy's just a boogeyman, ha ha ha, like this isn't influencing our opinion whatsoever?
Yeah, I think Abdul is going to need to separate.
50 points? Probably. I actually don't know. I did get the impression that it was the same thing. Let me see, actually. Democratic has consistently led in Wisconsin. Okay, cool. Thank you, New York Times. I love it. Whatever. Yeah, she's been consistently in the lead in the polls. So, yeah.
From Hassan, I don't think it's going to have that much.
Really, 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 really funny that all of these leftists seem to think that they are super popular and they're barely able to win, even though their polling shows like massive margins.
Okay, so then it's not just a boogeyman then, right? It's substantive, right? There's a real thing there that it's going to be damaging.
Just to, when we get to the overall point of the conversation here, and we talk about competing for influence in the Democratic Party, and we have creators in the space that we want to encourage to be better, that I don't want to jettison from our political angle. My goal here,
because you keep saying this, and I keep challenging your point. I love what you're saying. I think that I agree 100%. It would be cool if we were challenging creators to do better and be better. But the fundamental issue I've always had with this is I don't want to be in a political coalition where they're allowed to attack me and I'm not allowed to attack them. Because if that functionality exists, then the function that you're talking about the sides strengthening each other, that never happens. That's why I keep asking.
Destiny is racist to me and punched mama. Well, you know what? Your mother probably deserved it. Notice how firm but gentle Destiny is being? Yeah, but don't you understand that he needs to appeal to the leftist?
asking you, is there a single example of a Josiah or Pisco
I feel like this guy is like a
going on these shows
tanky,
and
but
fighting
it
against
seems.
the far left points?
Destiny
Not only is there
explained it
never
at
an
the
example
beginning.
of it, Pisco said he doesn't have to
Hang
go
on.
on to even do that. He said he'd be fine going on Fox News and never challenging their narratives. So in that case, every time you keep saying they're going to make our candidates better or this fight is good for us, I would say, no, it's not, because there's no fight. It's just
She did. The old hag never shuts up. True. She doesn't shut up. I would know. I talk to her all the time. I feel like this guy isn't like a tanky, but it seems... Well, like Destiny explained at the beginning that he was kind of like sort of like a leftist sweeper, right? He's funneling people in. So that's why he was saying he's an op.
a one-way backstab.
I don't think we need to directly challenge the creators in order to gain influence from their audience, is my whole point. We don't need to challenge them directly. If they, and this is bad on like Crystal Ball and Kyle Kulinski for them not engaging in these conversations, but that's also political
not bad,
media.
it's
That's the
intentional
reality
for
of our
them.
coalition, though. That's the reality of our political coalitions.
No, it's not.
We have
When has
Democrats
that
right
ever been
now
the reality of our coalition?
not engaging at all with Kyle Kulinski or not engaging at all with any of these audiences. Do you think that's an option? Disengaging completely?
You wouldn't favorably engage with them, and you give them negative coverage.
When we talk about Democratic voters, if they see Kyle Kulinski favorably, if I want to influence a Democratic voter and they think Kyle Kulinski is a nice progressive, he's angry about MAGA because he covers mostly Trump, they think Hassan Piker is just a progressive, will I be able to influence them better if I tell them like their favorite commentators are dipshit assholes, or should I just focus on getting them out to vote for Democrats?
What?
So you're arguing that it is more important to sweep for the fucking psychos because sometimes they have good takes than it is to point out that they're fucking insane. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I don't understand the.
Can I-
Neither of there's. You created a dichotomy that's false on both sides. I'm not saying you have to call their content creators assholes, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't encourage them to vote for Democratic candidates. What I'm saying is people should honestly cover Kyle Kulinski and what him and
I was
Crystal
just
Ball
pointing
stand
out
for. That's all
how
I'm
he's
asking
not going
for.
full on
Like,
this
so
guy,
when Kyle
but
and
staying
Crystal,
friendly,
like
but
the
not
interviews
backing
that they
down or
give,
ignoring their
modern
bad
Dem
takes.
candidates
Yeah,
are
pretty much.
fucking wild. They're crazy. They're hostile as Fox News, if not more so. The Adam
He's
Smith
being
interview
good
was
faith.
fucking crazy. The Mallory McMorrow interview from Crystal Ball. These are fucking insane interviews. Nobody, a complete and total silence from your lib left people about those interviews. I'm saying, why not cover it like they did when Bill Maher, who's an entertainment comedian guy, said, "Oh, I don't know, I might support fucking Vance, and I'm fucking retarded." Why not cover those interviews and show how crazy that is?
I mean, Adam Smith had one of the most dominating primary performances of any Democrat. I just don't think those interviews have that much of an impact. They don't have that much of an impact in the broader political context.
Every single thing you are saying in here is strengthening my opinion, because you always try to create some rhetorical escape for why you should ever hold these people accountable. You will never, ever, ever.
Bill Maher is the fucking worst? Yes, Bill Maher is a terrible fucking person. He literally abandoned liberalism because Donald Trump sucked his dick or some shit. He's a fucking loser.
This is why I asked you your line earlier about what you would say, like, now it's probably worth covering them, because the answer you gave me wasn't even real. You said, well, if their rhetoric becomes that I want to explicitly take over the party, that you don't even believe that. What if they had one state assembly? So I don't understand why you keep, like, it sounds like there's always a reason why.
Apparently
you would
my
say
OBS lost
not to
connection.
give
What
these
the
people
fuck?
negative
Are we all
coverage, not to
there?
push back on
Hello?
them. Like, do you think that Bill Maher is significantly impacting like the Democratic elections in Michigan or some places? And if that is the case, have you been critical about Josiah? Because I'm pretty sure. Doesn't
Hello,
Josiah say,
we're all
like,
good? Sorry, my OBS told me that my connection dropped randomly. Okay, just checking.
Bill Maher is a fucking
Sorry,
idiot
guys.
or whatever?
That was fucking
Josiah go
wild. I've
pretty
never
hard
had
on
that
Bill
happen
Maher
before.
in that
Sorry.
conversation when he represents like potential outreach to moderate voters?
Yeah, to piggyback off that, you would never treat Trump kindly because you're worried about like putting off potential MAGA converts, right? Like you would
True.
never make the argument that, we shouldn't be mean to Trump because if we're too mean to Trump, we're going to alienate possible previous Trump voters. No, you would never make that argument. So why are you
No.
making that argument now?
That's a very good fucking point.
I'm
Where-
sorry, rephrase that again. Sorry.
Sure.
What do you
would never-
mean? It's extremely fucking simple, you fucking idiot.
Make the argument. You made the argument that we shouldn't be mean to these people because we might
Fucking
want to
dumb
win them over
cunt.
to our side. We might want to convert them. We might want to make them Democratic voters. Fair enough. But why wouldn't you do this with Trump, right? Trump voters are gettable in some cases. Would you not want to treat Trump with kid gloves because you didn't want to piss them off and you want to be more amicable and open to draw them in? Why doesn't the argument work that way?
If I talk to a Trump supporter, I know that they in my opinion, social identities and social issues dominate politics. So I know that versus DSA, Trump supporters probably going to be highly religious. They probably are very close to their identity as a white person in America, and that completely conflicts with my vision of a future for America. And then when we talk about
What is this
DSA getting more
answer?
popular,
Wait, white religious people conflicts more with your
Dude, like, just say that a fucking DSA member is probably going to have more in common with a fucking liberal Democrat than a MAGA voter, right? Just say something like that. Just say, you know, like, at least when it comes to like racial equality or some shit, right? But no, he fucking word salads it
vision
because he's an
than
idiot.
people who are overtly trying to take over the party from the inside, who are pro Marxism and pro Putin and Stalin?
yeah, because in American
Yes,
history,
absolutely, they can, but overwhelmingly, like, I don't think a DSA member is going to say immigrants should all be shot and killed like fucking someone like Asmongold would say, right? They do say unhinged, horrible shit, but overall, like, 85% of the things that they say, like, are pretty similar. They're just very illiberal and extreme and probably authoritarian, right? It'd be like the saying that an establishment Republican from like the early 2000s would still have a little bit in common with like MAGA Republicans, right? But that still doesn't mean that those two fringes are okay. They're both unhinged and psychotic.
in all of American history, America has been more geared towards white religious men dominating politics. George Bush justified Iraq by saying we're going into a holy war. Republican politics has always been primed for cult
that's
members.
not true
One
about
reason
George
why.
Bush, right?
Both DSA and MAGA hates immigrants for different reasons. Well, I know DSA hate black people, so that's fun.
That's not even remotely true.
You could find the quotes then.
You
Let me
don't
see
have
if
to
I
like
can
what I
find it.
watched it live on TV. He did say that I think he prayed and he talked to God, and this is the right answer. America went to war because we got terrorists attacked, and George Bush could have thrown a dart at basically any country on the planet, and we went to war with it. He didn't say I don't think he was. This was not like a call to religious people to go to war. Like, yeah, he uses.
Okay,
religion for
but
everything
do
he
you,
does, but
I'm sure you would agree the Republican Party has been far. It's easier to have a cult mentality in a highly religious evangelical group that's all the same race and culture versus the Democrat Party or the DSA, which is like every single minority group together,
White
jammed
religion.
Well, the
into a
Democrat
party.
Party, yes. The DSA, no. I think the DSA is perfectly copied. There's a reason why
Bush
Al Said
does
brought
vault.
more white people together in Detroit than has ever happened in the history of the United States of America. Like, there's a reason why these audiences, and by the way, all the content creators that seem to refuse to disavow or attack any of these socialist people, your Adam Mocklers, your Josiahs, your Peace Coast, all of these people also happen to be young white men. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yes.
It's why one of the biggest pain points for this DSA types, for people like you included, and people like Keith Edwards, also young white men, were Jasmine Crockett. I don't think that that's a coincidence.
I can't think of another candidate who has taken that approach towards their primary opponent that they lost to after promising to campaign for them. That's the only reason why I spoke on Jasmine Crockett. I think Keith
don't believe
Edwards
she ever
went way
promised to
harder.
campaign for him. I don't think I've ever seen a quote where she promised to campaign for him. And after she lost, when she was on stage, she said that she'd support the entire ticket and she was going to actively campaign for black members who are down ballot. She never disavowed.
Having to argue with two glue-eating sides of the aisle. Well, I mean, the way I would see it is they're on the same team, right? They're on the side of fuck the West and destroy everything, and we're on the other side, right? Fuck Asman, he should be permabanned. No, he shouldn't be permabanned. He should just not be a content creator. He should just fucking die.
Tallarico or said she doesn't support him
In a video game,
in a video game, doing down ballot campaigning, but she supports the ticket. She said that explicitly.
Yes, he should be fired out of a
Haley
cannon.
Stevens or McMorrow, or if Tallarico lost and did
He should be deported to fucking, like, to the Congo. And have to work.
the same thing, I'd be criticizing them very heavily. And I've given Haley Stevens her flowers for this.
Make him a
goal
stateless
is to
refugee.
deal with the rising popularity of the DSA, and we have different approaches to that. I don't think that the DSA is full of irredeemable members defined by their national party. And when I say that, then your audience definitely believes that. Your audience definitely believes that I'm an op, that Josiah's an op, that we're all ops, and we all have terrible intentions.
You guys aren't random blind members of the DSA. You guys are political content creators. So of course we're
It never
given
even
standard.
gets into their minds that we could be acting in a way that moves people over to liberalism. I don't understand why that is such a hard concept to understand or even to
Because
believe
you guys
in.
don't message to anybody that you can convert. You only hand your audience over to far left types, right?
Even in
If they were going to adversarial platforms, like if you were to say boot.
Another way to put this: whenever a moderate talks to a leftist commentator, like political commentator, the liberal is always talking about how they relate to the leftist position. It's never the leftist talking about how they relate to liberalism, right? I know there's crazy DGGers, but Destiny should be willing to mention that he's got snarkers acting badly saying they're DGG. Yes, that is a thing. They also create bot accounts as well. Like some of the LAN people, the Liberal Action Network, they made posts on Twitter where they just said Destiny is good. That was it. And they got like tons of hate comments about Destiny. It was crazy. So like there is an effort to target Destiny right now. And people need to kind of counteract that. But yeah, that's a whole thing.
Buttigieg tries that. I believe you. Buttigieg goes to neutral and adversarial platforms, and he tries really hard to sell a lib-left idea to these people. I think he's trying to convert people. If you were to look at my career talking to conservatives or neo-Nazis, sure, I could say, yeah, that's what he's trying to convert people. But none of these guys are going to conservative audiences. These guys are incredibly harsh to conservative audiences or to independents that seem Trump-aligned. See their commentary on all the Joe Rogans or the Bill Maher stuff that came up. And then when it comes to the far left people, they have zero impact. They're never going to say anything negative about the further left people to them in the media. So why would they ever convert? The only thing they're doing is facilitating an audience transfer from lib left to far left. That's all they're doing. And you can't show me a single example. That's why I ask, like, what is a single time where who would watch Josiah and ever get a negative opinion from him of Kyle Kalinske or Crystal Ball?
Yes.
It would never happen. But nobody who watches Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske are ever going to see a Josiah clip and think, wow, actually, I think Kyle Kalinski's crazy, and I'm agreeing with this Josiah guy more. That's never going to happen because it's a ratchet where it's always set up so that if you watch Josiah, if you watch Pisco, you like them, and you might actually end up liking the further left guys. For the further left guys, they're always going to try to create that backstop to move anybody to the moderate left position because what do they call them? They're MAGA light. It's the single party duopoly. It's all the APAC supporters. Like,
yeah, I'm really happy this is the final day of DSA debates. These conversations are very drawn out.
True complaining. My homegirl D shows me Hades today. I like the art style. True. I don't know. Okay. What did he play Hades 2 today? I haven't watched a stream. I kind of just woke up and started streaming. I've been sick for like the past week.
Yeah,
it's been great.
For everybody involved here, I mean, I agree there could be more criticism. In my opinion, we can get more influence if we are the #1 enemies of MAGA. It probably doesn't look good for us on the liberal side if they go to our pages and we're attacking the left right now in a period. Like, for example, Max Miller is a Republican that beat his wife and his granddaughter.
The MAGA fight's over. I know you like to talk about the Max Miller guy.
Yeah.
We're in the primary season right now. Why do we care? Yes, we all agree MAGA is bad. MAGA is on the way out. We lost that election in 2024. MAGA is on the way out. Who knows what everything's going to look like after the midterms if the MAGA brand is going to have any staying power whatsoever. Like, the next fight is going to be whatever faction emerges from the MAGA carcass.
All right. I'm going to say this. Trump will run again in 2028. I think Destiny is wrong on this. He is underestimating how much of an egotistical fucking retard Donald Trump is. He will try to do it. And yeah.
The issue is for every one crazy DSA member that says they're anti-Thanksgiving that we have, Republicans have dozens of child abusers, dozens of actual criminals who should be in jail, who are government agents, who are leading political office, who are not going anywhere. And those people are going to be transitioning to whoever the next authoritarian right-wing leader is. The idea that MAGA is done, Democratic voters are looking for anti-MAGA voices still. So when they go on our pages and they see us, doing left bashing right now during the primary, they'll probably gravitate towards a Kolinsky or a Hassan who have covered Max Miller. I think it's good to cover Max Miller, who is a Republican congressman who's beating the shit out of his wife and his granddaughter, who is Bernie Moreno, a Republican senator's daughter. It's his daughter and his granddaughter. This is like the Republican infighting. This is the perfect story that we need everybody to know, that the Republican Party, and they are still funding Max Miller's campaign. And if you think the fight versus Republicans is over and we should be left bashing, that's just the biggest difference here. Like, MAGA's over. I don't think MAGA is anywhere near over. I don't think Trump is going to be the only thing that falls, and then we're finally back to normal, democratic institutions. We're going to have to be working with this coalition. Is still going to be there when Trump is gone. We need to keep on bashing Republicans.
One thing I would say is, after the 2020 election, everyone was under the impression that Donald Trump was kind of finished. I think the 2028 shit was Bannon's attempt to make Trump not be a lame duck day one, but Trump crazy enough to try. Yes. Even then, God please no. Vance, if he becomes president, I will Minecraft Hades Roblox. That's a crazy mod. I think he can now, right? Because didn't they adopt some laws that 2 terms means 2 terms next to each other? No, they mean 2 terms. He's just committing voice crack. He's just violating the Constitution. He's just being a piece of shit. If by that logic, like, I don't know. It is just silly. But yeah.
It is still my goal to bash Republicans, number one, first and foremost. I don't understand why you would ever say like we're done with that fight.
Okay. Did I say that? We should stop bashing Republicans?
You said MAGA is over. I don't think 80% of our coverage should be back.
Yeah, if you're saying MAGA is over, it's like, it's minimizing how they're still a continuous threat. They're still going to do some pretty horrible shit.
Bashing the left.
Oh, okay. I'll concede that point, because I was arguing that most people should have 80% coverage.
I accept my death.
I said that? Or wait, did I say that?
Inshallah, I'll see.
Said who cares?
I'll
about
see you
covering
in
Max Miller?
Valhalla, my brother.
And then that means I think that people like Josiah.
I'll see you in Valheim.
80% of their coverage bashing the left. That's what that means.
No. Do you not care about what is your metric for knowing if you're successful with this? Is it more followers? Is it, a media environment that changes? What is your end goal?
My end goal for what? My life or my entire political mission? Right now, the issue I have is that there is a subversive element in the Democratic Party that has a strong institution now, and now that institution is beginning to churn out political impact in a way that nobody in the lib-left world, a few people are starting to get there, mainly
See y'all in
a
Gina.
couple people on, I think, MS Now. People are starting to get there, but they're still pretty far behind. And there's a whole bunch of lib-left moderates in the center of this fight who are constantly telling us that we can't pay attention to this like growing, cancerous, subversive aspect in our party. And they seem completely unable or unwilling to identify it and fight against it. And I only see it becoming larger and larger of an issue. Like, let's say that Al Sayed loses slightly in Michigan. Do you recognize that that would essentially be like the DSA costing us a Senate seat?
Possibly.
I'm not. We talk a lot about like, well, political power and what matters at the end of the day, and being an activist and being an organizer. Does that matter? Losing a Senate seat, is that a big deal? Or
I'm not convinced, and I'm on the record saying this. I'm not convinced either candidate is going to win the Michigan Senate seat. I think that either is going to win or lose, depending on what happens in the political climate. I don't think there's much that's going to change.
He's basically saying it 50-50, either we win it or lose it.
That election. So I don't know if that's going to be super definitive.
When I ask you a hypothetical and then you say, this is what I think will happen, I can't tell if this is an inability to engage with a question or if you're nervous.
Yes, that was like a completely... I'm going to go back because that was such a stupid response.
I think that either is going to win or lose. Possibly.
Does
I'm
that
not.
matter to
I'm
you?
not.
You talk a lot about like, well, political power and what matters at the end of the day, and activist, being an activist and being an organizer. Does that matter? Losing a Senate seat, is that a big deal, or?
I'm not convinced, and I'm on the record saying this. I'm not convinced either candidate is going to win the Michigan Senate seat. I think that either is going to win or lose, depending on what happens in the political climate. I don't think there's much that's going to change.
What is
in
that?
election.
What is
So I
that
don't know if that's gonna be
answer?
super definitive.
When I ask you a hypothetical, and then you say this is what I think will happen, I can't tell if this is an inability to engage with a question or if you're nervous and trying to avoid it. I'm asking if he were to lose by like a point, would you acknowledge that it would be a strong possibility that like the
Yeah,
DSA
it was
stuff
very
made
much.
us lose a Senate seat?
If he loses as a result of, let's say he refuses to denounce the Piker, then yes, I would definitely blame them for that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it'd be like Cory Bush calling Wesley Bell a Republican. We should, and if Pisco and Josiah do not say the same thing, then I would be attacking them too at that point.
Okay. Do you think that Pisco and Josiah will ever be on a Breaking Points type show to push back against far left talking points ever? The next 2 years? Do you think Adam Mockler?
I hope
do you think
so.
any of these people? What do you think? I don't know why you're saying I hope so. Do you think it will happen?
I think that if we pound MAGA, if we win 240 POW seats, then yes, I do think there's a good likelihood that can happen from one of the creators that we're mentioning.
Okay. I'm just going to go to the bathroom real quick. While I'm gone, you guys can check out the Wisconsin stuff, yeah?
Counties here where Crowley is able to just, 150 votes here, 60 votes there, 80 here, and it does, in a race like this, it adds up. And again, why this Milwaukee update has got to, if you're Hong, has got to wipe that all out. It's got to wipe that all out, I think. Once that Milwaukee is in, you're left with Winnebago being about 4,000 votes left, where again, I suspect she'll do well, but it's a little unclear because there's just this, she does better in those population centers than the outlying parts of these counties. Greene, where he's doing well, Monroe, where he's doing well, Eau Claire, where she's doing well. And once you get, that's it. I mean, 54, 26, 22, 28. Yeah, once you get through there, we're down to the bare bones. So 1254 in Milwaukee is still not any sign of any.
They're giving an update right now, and I'm trying to understand what's happening.
Oh well, listen, yeah.
We just got a Sheboygan update.
Mm-hmm. For Crowley, I can see. Which knocks us down to 56. Are they still giving the update?
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I'm just reading the closed captioning, and so I don't have the fullest grasp of this. But it appears there were some irregularities in the reporting process. So I think they have to go back to the city location and do some work there, and then potentially kind of restart that process. That's what I'm gathering from the city right now, or from the county update.
Welcome back. Irregularities.
Really? That's
What happened?
So we're back to square one on this.
Potentially, and she's going through the. I'm just trying to read the closed captioning.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. But that just seems like a very significant thing.
What happened? What did I miss? Oh no. All right. Well. Rip.
That they're
I could be proven wrong.
that they're going to go and they're going to fight to the left if we have a good House victory.
Oh.
Yeah, if Kyle Kulinski says that it doesn't matter
Browser
that
froze?
Democrats won. Now
Oh my lord.
that MAGA's gone, these are all MAGA light people, and they're basically Republicans. If they don't push back against that, then I'd be talking about them then. You know?
Even though Kyle
Jesus.
Kalinske and all those people have been saying essentially that message for the last 6 or more years.
Yeah.
Hong committed voter fraud. They busted in illegals. What did the boxers do under the voting booth with fake ballots? True.
I think
That is
now
very
it's
true.
going to change, and now they'll go and push back against it.
Yeah, I
You do
think that
acknowledge
if
they've
the
been
threat of
paying
MAGA
attention
is
to that, like,
removed, whenever the threat of MAGA is removed, I think there's more potential for left infighting. And I said this to like Bernie people too a couple years ago, where if Trump is in the picture, everybody's focused on beating Trump. If you want to deal with stuff on the left, it's going to be in primaries, especially if we think Republicans are not presenting the threat they are right now, because no one is in the mood to like bash anyone on the left. And I agree with you that the people like Hassan who did not endorse Kamala Harris are benefiting from the wave that's currently happening. But my argument would be that we have to ride with this like populist wave, guide it into a better direction, so when it crashes, we're not falling off a cliff.
I don't
We're not
understand
having
why
our
we
entire.
keep saying the same thing over and over again. I don't know if this is like a
Pence,
program
you know what
talking
to
point
do.
or like in the Rubio robot world. You keep saying this thing of like, we need to guide it and we need to do this. And I keep responding to this saying that no guidance is happening. Do you understand that? That's why I keep saying, when will they ever go on these programs and push back? That's why I keep saying that, is because
Donald Trump needs to find me 11,000 more votes in Wisconsin.
whatever guidance you're talking about is purely, it's a delusional fantasy. It won't happen. It fundamentally misunderstands and misstates my problem with the current environment, in that the far left will only ever punch right. They will never host criticism of themselves. It's explicitly part of their political program. And you seem to be hand waving that, saying, I hope in the future people will criticize them because they built credibility with their audience. The credibility only goes one way. I don't hear any response to this. And then we just like repeat this weird
Sure.
talking point.
A question
There is
for you,
no, we're not-
Destiny,
Sure.
if I may.
If
right?
I may.
What would change your mind about
My dude, you are the host. You
your
you tell him shut the fuck up.
current environment? Like, you've made arguments that I happen to agree with, that
You
we
say,
are in
"I'm
a
the
time
boss."
where there are subversive elements that are trying to kind of change the party and influence the party and push the party in different directions that are going to be harmful to Democratic Party as a whole and liberalism. What could we see, or what could change that you would be less inclined?
I bet if Hong loses, she'll ask for a recount of the votes. True. I mean, that's fine. It's a really close election, right? Like,
to feel that
objectively,
way, that
that's
you would be like,
fine.
okay, maybe I was overselling this, maybe this was wrong, etc. Like, what would we need to see?
I mean, my biggest worry that I said over and over again was the inability for any of these people to ever punch left ever. Like, I think that probably the epitome of this in my mind maybe would have been the whole BLM riot stuff, where there was like the riots all over the country. There was the whole defund the police thing that a lot of lawmakers were complaining about, behind closed doors. That there was a lot of radical messaging coming from the further left element of the party that for some reason the establishment wasn't able to accurately push back on, or adequately push back on, like either. Like there was just no way to do that ever, and it always was a disaster for any Democrat that tried to do it. If I was in a world where I saw any of these like lib left content creators, if Pac-Man or Brian Tyler Cohen or Josiah or any of these people, every now and then released a video and they were like, ridiculously unfair interview on Breaking Points with Mallory McMorrow or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is. There's like, I see that it's there, like there's a limiting mechanism there. And I would feel confident that if the far left people got more and more entrenched and then more powerful, that mechanism would continue to ramp up, that the immune response would continue to kind of like, kick out, or it would increase, right?
We'd have the antibodies necessary to fight the disease.
Yeah, there'd be like a response there. Like if somebody got injected with a virus and you saw like 4 days later they had no fever, like my thought would be like, holy shit, this person has AIDS. There's like no immune system or something. Like they're gonna die. This person's gonna die. But if they had like a fever and stuff, you're like, oh, okay, well, there's like an immune response. Like something is happening. Like I wouldn't be worried. But all I hear from these lib left people is infinite capitulation to these far left people who are openly hostile in
True.
the most egregious manners.
State will pay if it's 0.25% or less. Yeah, she'll probably wait. She'll probably wait for it to, is it in drama and politics on the food court? Let me see. Three business days of the county canvass, except for presidential election recounts. First business day, 1% of the race with more than 4,000 votes. Yep. And if it's less than 0.25% of the total vote, I could.
Towards our political party.
Look,
the statement I've
it's
made over and over again is that,
perfectly
like,
legitimate
the
to
most
do that.
consequential election it was the
Nothing wrong with
2024
that.
election, maybe 2020, and those were both of those.
And let me get the cat. Meow! Say hello to everyone, Midi. Meow. Yes. Just say hello. Hello, my name is Ritter. So maybe no, because it's bound to be expensive, but yes, it'll just drag this out. I'm going to be real. If it's around 1%, I would be calling like a recount as well. That's too close.
Were more consequential than 2028 will be.
She
2028
should do
will be
it.
important, but
Just
2024
objectively,
was the big
like
one.
they both should want to
And
recount.
that was completely fucked for no reason too. Like there was no reason to ever have doubt over who to support there. So I don't know, that the inability to accurately hold people to account for that is crazy in my mind. Like I would say that if you were a seasoned political commentator and you couldn't endorse Kamala over Trump in that election, I would never, ever, ever have you as part of any Democratic movement ever. You would be like completely castigated. You'd be outside the party, and everybody should know how fucking insane you are. So that would be my perspective, because it's such an easy question. At that point, like if you're willing to entertain those types of people, why not entertain? Like if Fuentes comes and wants to, caucus with his candidates in the Democratic Party, and they're willing to try to fight like in more moderate areas, like I don't know, why not invite a Fuentes type? Like people will immediately be like, oh no, not the Nazis or whatever, because we have that inbuilt anti-Nazi thing. But for the commies, or for people that are intentionally trying to destroy our party, it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe we can flirt with them over and over again, because in some hypothetical future, they'll all just kind of like fade away, even though nothing indicates that that'll happen.
That was.
Question for you, Jola.
I just want to hear that again. That was funny.
To try to fight like in more moderate areas, like I don't know, why not invite a Fuentes type? Like people will immediately be like, oh no, not the Nazis or whatever, because we have that inbuilt anti-Nazi thing.
It's a 2000 joke in a way. So, what could have been if they'd let Florida recount and Gore won the 2000 election? I mean, yeah, completely different world.
But for the commies, or for people that are intentionally trying to destroy our party, it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe we can flirt with them over and over again, because in some hypothetical future, they'll all just kind of like fade away, even though nothing indicates that that'll happen.
Question for you, Jola, and then I'll let you respond to whatever you like. So you've mentioned that you personally criticized the left, and you've criticized the DSA, you've criticized people who are on the left that you feel are acting poorly. Is there a clip or evidence or maybe a tweet where you criticize any of the big liberal content creators for not going as hard as they should against people like Hassan or Kyle Kalinske or anything like that? Is there any time you've done that?
Do you mean criticize? I criticize Hassan directly, or do you mean like criticizing like
Someone
I
for
don't
not
know,
going
Josiah for not going hard on
far
them?
left.
I don't know. Probably. I think I reviewed when Hutch and Josiah were on Crystal and Kyle when that came out, and I probably criticized. I know I was super hard on Crystal and Kyle during that interview. I'm not sure. I forget how hard they went, but it doesn't happen that often because they do not host conversations like that.
Okay.
On the far left, so it's hard to recently it's hard to say.
I'm gonna let you respond to anything that Destiny was saying that you disagree with. Go ahead.
And this conversation will keep looping. So there's a population of people that
It's looping because you don't answer any of the fucking questions.
Believe one thing about the world, or they believe something about commentators' relationships they built up over years and years and years. And, the DSA is rising as like a social group as well for young people. I know from firsthand experience, the local Democrats are all age 45 up. If you want to hang out with young people, they're going to be probably DSA, or it's going to be another further left progressive movement. Now, these things are going to be existing regardless if I participate in them or not. And if you're a fan of Hassan or Kyle, that's going to be there already. It's going to be.
This obsession with Kyle Kalinske is kind of insane. Like, no offense to Kyle, he is a big YouTuber and stuff like that, but like, I don't think he has that much political clout outside of just making videos, right?
Happening. So my goal is to be attached to those communities so I can vie for influence in those communities. And it's just going to be a difference in opinion. I understand, or at least tactics. I understand what Josiah tries to focus on and why he doesn't get involved in lefty infighting. I think it is debatable how fruitful that can really be. But yeah, everything that I'm doing is, in my opinion, good faith to try and make sure that Democrats can beat Republicans. And I'm not happy with these elements of the left. I'm not happy that Kyle Kalinske never hosts a conversation critical of the far left. But I know how they are. I know how Crystal Ball is. I know how these people are going to act, how they're going to react to it. The best thing I can do is consider how can I reach into their audience and pull people to my side. So if it means having Hassan videos every once in a while where I criticize him, or if a Hassan fan comes in my chat and I can introduce like, hey, Hassan said this about Mao. That's way better than if I would, or if Adam, or if Josiah would be like, the other extreme of calling Hassan like a dog shocking terrorist.
Dog shocking terrorist, dude. Fucking, he wants to do 9/11, but the plane's full of dogs and the building's full of dogs.
Community to consider me. You could just say I'm dumb or whatever, but saying I'm an op is kind of crazy. If you want to say I'm I'm a useful idiot, I'm going to be abused by the lefties, then that's fine. But at least I have the opportunity to vie for their audiences. I would say that Destiny's and his community have almost zero potential to do that, and he could definitely influence the Bulwark, which I think you definitely have gotten in with the Bulwark. But yeah, it's just a difference in goals. So this conversation will keep on looping. The one we had with a Wick earlier, Wick is much more aggressive, I think, about like the DSA overtaking Democrats and whatever, but yeah.
Maybe I am. Anything you want to respond there, Destiny? Any we are kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a loop. I mean, he keeps saying that he will have pull on these other audiences, and I'm just going to say that it's never going to happen, and it won't. That's why there's no examples of it happening right now, but maybe in the future I'll be proven wrong, but I just don't ever foresee it happening. It hasn't happened yet.
His digs at DGG is pretty annoying. I mean, he's annoying in general.
When I interacted with Destiny's community in the past 2 weeks, I got brigaded with messages from the far left, complimenting me, asking me to join their side. They're like, we don't care if you're a communist or a socialist. We don't care. The DGG community is calling you an op. You should come join us. And I'm like, I'm not doing that because I'm not in that crowd. But the incentives for being associated with like Destiny's community, the barrier for entry at this point is pretty high for people who are new commentators. And I'm someone who does like Again, I'm not a huge commentator, so I don't expect people to know this. But like, I criticize Hassan all the time. I make videos criticizing Hassan. I do it to Hassan fans, and I've gotten some of them to back off from Hassan a little bit. If I do that, and I'm not out here because you always ask the question, did he shock his dog? All these other like litmus tests. Then the audience.
How many times is he gonna mention like the dog shocking? Like, this is a shockingly bad performance. Just lost 50 viewers.
Destiny has, and I think for good reason, for the the stuff that happens with the snarking, and I don't even want to get into that bullshit. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be a very easy way to enter into
you don't want
this
to get
community.
Into that bullshit. You mean the stuff that people like Hassan explicitly and constantly spread, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the fight you're participating in, and that's why I try to make sure.
Do you think that's the fight I want to participate in?
No,
I can
that's why
multitask.
I started
I'm
the
chilling
conversation
until
acknowledging
bedtime.
there's things that are going to
Very
be
cool.
disconnected from like on the ground politics, and I'm talking about the underground politics, and you have other reasons. Which
The snarkers are circling, and this is what happens. What snarkers? Are there snarkers here? I don't think they give a fuck about me. Is he a snarker? I don't think he's a snarker. I think he's just a... Nobody is shocked except Kaya. True! Roll.
I don't want to talk about my sex life all the time. That's Hassan who
agree.
pushes that.
Yeah.
You a bitch,
right?
No, I
Ozzy.
100%
Have
agree
some
with that.
Vegemite.
And that's
True.
why I think it's
no,
good. Yeah.
He does it intentionally.
Yeah, to
Oh
make sure
my
no one ever
God.
listens to anything you say about him, because then they'll never
Exactly.
trust
And
the
then they're
criticisms.
friendly
Yeah.
to you because you function well.
Oh,
Like it's
I just realized what you were saying. Stumbling. You're talking about the people that just randomly started messaging him.
Right?
I think they just know that your community is going to call me op, and they want to try to get me to their side. But the moment I say
Wait, but,
no,
I mean, they
I
call
believe
you-
the same negative things, then
Wait, but you don't like. For instance, if I were to go through any
Java's
of your coverage, have you ever
place.
gotten any facts wrong that were disfavorable towards far left candidates in the same way that you seem to have gotten so many facts wrong against like moderate
Grok, take his clothes off.
candidates? Like the Gillibrand
sure.
jihad thing. Is there a single one that you can think of, like off the top of your head, where you're like, oh, I said this about Al Sayed, and I was actually really wrong on this?
I said like a week ago that Abdul did not commit to endorsing Haley Stevens. I said that on Twitter, and I said I expect him to come out and say this, but I got berated with a comment saying that he did say he would endorse Haley if he lost. So I did spread that, and I had to retract it because I thought he did not.
Wait, did he?
Yeah. I'm not sure if they did on the debate stage. Let me see. I can find that tweet if you guys want a video of it.
Well, not the tweet of you pushing back. The
Fish's
tweet
tail.
of did he say he would endorse her if he'd lose?
Yeah, he like said, he just said to the reporter like, I think you might have.
I did read
seen
this,
it.
and for the reporter, he absolutely didn't. So now you're giving me an example of you giving a lib left take, and you're an example of the far left harassing you out of that take, and then you changed your take without even seeing any evidence. This is the ratchet.
He said it on
effect
Pod Save
happening.
America too. He said it on Pod Save America too. I could try to find that clip.
This sounds like the ratchet in action right now. Like this is literally it.
True. Please call the cops on my
I'll give you a
ex-girlfriend.
second to find it.
Fucking cunt, you made me cough. Holy shit. True. What are you doing?
Take your time. In the meantime, let me read some of these super chats while you look. Just make a little money here.
One day, I will be reading my super chats.
£5 from Riz What the Fuck to say, can we get a live fact checker on this? I'm not sure we can trust that all these statements have a factual basis. Well, he's finding the clip now. We'll give him time. $5 from Caramel Cold Brew. For the goal, I want to see Wick's tears. Thank you for that. $2 from Odashara Yummy Yummy Tears. $5 from Hedonic Samuel.
Jesus.
We're going to be hearing Republican ads about Hassan until 2028 unless we nip this in the bud. It's Shrimple.
Shrimple.
$20 from Kier Starmer Fan 123. Pisco hate comment. Josiah hate comment. I will be unalive before I stop being DGG. Vote Mike Rogers. Okay, thank you for the $20, I guess. Quantum Fantasy, member for 22 months. 1930s Germany has some lessons on the small group. Don't worry about it. Well, thank you for that. Any luck on the clip?
Grok, what goes down at a Diddy party? Ask Hassan. Just kidding.
Josiah. Or,
Not
sorry.
really.
Hey,
Jola.
just because we are both,
Same J. It's a J name. Okay.
just because we both sweep for communists doesn't mean we're the same person. Yeah, so this is a post from Too Raw Too Real, who's a very, very liberal account. Even I think he made
Can
fun
you
of
send
like
it to
Bernie
me so
Sanders'
we
heart
can
attack a few years ago.
watch
It's in your Discord DMs, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so remember, Destiny said that I was a product of the Ratchet Effect when I said this, and he said that Abdul did not actually endorse supporting Haley Stevens if he lost. So Destiny right here just lied to you. Or he got it wrong, but it's okay to get things wrong. You can clarify it. You can clarify it. You can clarify it. You said I'm a victim of the Ratchet Effect. You said I'm a victim of the Ratchet Effect, and Abdul never did that. So I'm happy you can now clarify.
What did I just say? What did you just say?
I'm surprised you did not. Wait, how did you not know Abdul said he'd support Haley if she won? How did you not know that? I thought you covered this stuff.
What did I just say that was wrong?
How did you not know Abdul said he'd vote for Haley Stevens if he lost or support her?
I never saw that anywhere, and I went looking for it.
It's really surprising. I thought the left was the only ones who are inaccurate with the representation of the center of the party, but okay.
I don't know why you're not answering the question. Did he say that? Did he say he would?
Yeah, we can clarify right now.
I have
Wick
the
has it up.
clip he sent me. Let's see if it is correct. Are we all watching so we can all hear?
Oh, wait.
Wait, Wick.
Oh, okay, I'm watching.
Okay, we're watching? Cool.
If Haley Stevens wins the primary, will you support her in the general?
I've been super clear about the fact that we got to beat Mike Rogers. So yes, you guys keep asking me the same question.
What? Okay.
Okay, that seems like it. Sure.
Seems like it. Start losing it.
Okay. We found the clip of him saying yes. Great.
Hooray.
Do we think that, I guess... Well, where do you guys want to go from here? I can invite...
Big
Colin.
L, Destiny.
We are looping
True.
now, right, at the end of the day. But I guess, Jola, do you stand by your statement that Destiny was lying about this? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think smearing me, saying I was a victim of the leftist Ratchet Effect is really crazy to do off the rip before even having proof of what happened. That's pretty crazy.
Well, to be clear, I said that because you referenced the article that I did read on stream, and that article does not say what you just said. That's why you have a video clip now from another thing, which is like, and I'm granting it, but that was a pretty light answer, but that was the
I'm
issue,
giving
that
you the same
cited an
credibility your
article.
community has shown me. when I say
You're giving
that.
what?
It's very stupid. The same charitability your community has shown me, I'm giving it the same level. Like it's very annoying when people just act like you're like being unfair about something that you should know already about the primary in Michigan. You should.
We got to
probably
be
know that I'm
patient with
bull.
Unk's
You talk about it a
sundowning.
lot that he said he would vote for Stevens. It
True.
seems like something you should know. You're a
Just-
pretty
you
big
should
Trump
just
fan.
know it.
No, and you've been critical of me not.
You should know that he said, yeah. Not explicitly like as like a big announcement or anything like that. Just like, will you support? I've been very good. Yeah. Like, fucking hell. Just, yeah.
Not covering these primaries until the last minute, right?
Yeah, this is
Thing
why I
is-
said that, because you don't really know.
Can you tell me why you got it wrong then, and you had to be called out on other people to correct the misinformation? Because you said that you yourself also had this belief, and you said you cover this far more than me.
True.
But you had to get called out on Twitter to change your mind on it. So why didn't you know?
Yeah, I knew that 10
True.
days ago. I got corrected because I engaged in conversations about the primary.
you
Usually
didn't-
when you
but you
talk about
didn't
the
know.
primary,
So you
you learn
didn't
stuff
know.
about it.
Sure. So you
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know,
I
right?
learned
So you
about it
didn't
because
know,
I
right?
actually covered the primary. I found out about it. It's a week after the primary. You still don't know. That's kind of sad.
Because nobody's ever produced that clip. That I guess that's like a 6-second clip before.
Yeah,
right?
because
Yeah, true.
your audience also does some things, sometimes not as bad,
Hold on,
but
what was
also
this clip
does.
from?
I don't understand how you're. Yeah, I don't understand how you think there's like such a strong.
It's not strong. It's just that you said I was a victim of the leftist ratchet effect. Here you
Yeah,
go.
you
You believe
are,
something,
yes.
and you got.
This is true. Destiny does not cover politics. I'm pretty sure he's just like a eugenics streamer now, right?
But you got bullied out of my position, and it turns out that you were wrong about it, and that's fine.
Hilarious.
We're allowed to be wrong about things and walk it back and clarify. You saw the video now,
You
and
can,
we're all good.
you can walk it back and clarify, but I
All
asked
good.
you a question. You cited an article that didn't support what you said.
We're
Now you
balling
managed
out.
to find
We're
a different thing
good.
that does support what you said, but I don't know if you've just never
Bull
seen that
was on
before, and you
board with
managed to-
supporting Democrats. It's really good that he does that. I follow Too Raw Too Real. I recommend that account. Very strong liberal account on Twitter.
Are there times where he was asked this question and he dodged the question?
You're
Why
wrong?
couldn't he say the same thing when he was asked multiple times?
When?
It's oh.
When?
Factorino.
Destiny, do you have a clip of him dodging the question that we can look at?
Well, the one I can think of was the same article that he cited. That's the one that I read, where it seemed like he was unwilling to give an answer. But that's why I'm not sure why he cited that article of him talking to the reporter.
He
Factorial.
did it on Pod Save too. I mean, maybe Abdul had to be
Also
bullied,
during
bullied,
the- did he-
bullied
did he
into
refuse
that
to-
position.
During the debate, on the debate itself, did he dodge that?
I'm not sure if they asked it. Did they? ask him to
Factorino.
debate? I didn't watch the whole thing.
Factorial. True.
I don't know the answer to the question whether it happened on the debate stage or not. I wasn't sure. if
It's
it
okay,
happened on the
Subly.
debate stage. I don't know what he
Let me
answered on the
see.
debate stage. I don't know.
Let's use Claude. Let's see if I can find it.
Okay. I
That's what
guess
Hutch uses.
the-
I don't use Claude though, but
the-
Hutch does, so I followed him.
Wait, I'm curious. You used Claude because when I asked Claude, I said, are there any clear statements from Abdul El-Sayed where he said that he would explicitly endorse Haley Stevens if he lost the primary election in Michigan? Claude's answer to me was, short answer, I couldn't find any clear on-the-record statement from El-Sayed explicitly pledging to endorse Stevens.
Mr. Spaghetti, do you condemn the gyoza?
We lost. The reporting on that
Do
question
you
almost
condemn
entirely
the
indicated the
genocide
direction.
of Gyaza?
What is documented, and then it cites 2 Slate articles. Stevens was
Gyaza.
repeatedly asked and answered. She told Slate in July that she would endorse and campaign for El-Sayed if she lost, saying that she was on the team and told CNN on primary day that she would support him if he won the nomination. She followed through. After conceding on August 5th, she posted that she had called El-Sayed to offer her full support. And then the closest analogs for El-Sayed is from 2024, not this race. As a prominent backer of the uncommitted movement, he said that he would support the Democratic presidential nominee over
Gyaza.
Trump in the general election, a general commitment to backing the party's nominee. What did you ask, Claude? Because clearly I prompted wrong because he didn't find anything when I asked.
Looking for it right now. I just remember seeing that Too Raw put
Jarvis?
that clip because Too Raw. I mean, you'll have seen clips of him before. He's more of
Well,
like
it
a
is from
center
the
supporter.
reaction room,
You
and
come
so
to
if this
me
is
on the day
reaction
of
room
my
from,
LibCon.
one of the debates or the primary.
Mhm.
Like if this is reaction to primary night coverage.
Well,
I
what is
think
that?
we
Wait. Can you link me? What is that? Or what is that interview from? I guess link me the thing.
I'll link you the tweet he gave me. Give me a second. This is what I was sent. Would it be fair though, while he looked at that, would it be fair, Drilla, to characterize El-Sayed as having
We got
perhaps been
93.8%
less,
of
vocal
votes
than
in,
he should have about
and it is
endorsing the candidate?
39.9.
Oh yeah, I think El-Sayed.
Yeah, 39.9 for Crowley, and 39.6 for Francesca Hung. So very fucking close, guys. Very cool.
I criticized him for not being hard enough on the left for helping out Stevens if he did lose. So I would agree with that characterization, yeah.
Okay, this seems to be a post-debate conversation from July 27th, 2026 is what I see on Fox News website.
So that's.
I'm happy both candidates said that at least.
A few days before the.
Well, their statements were not even remotely equivalent, right? Stevens was far more committed to supporting whoever won than.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, yeah.
Okay. Also, to Jola, you understand why we might need fact-checking from you, given your mischaracterizations of both Haley Stevens on the Obama endorsement and also Kirsten Gillibad's statements about Mamdani from last night. You understand why DGG might be a little skeptical of your claims in the future?
True.
I think that picking apart the TikTok I made is very stupid. I did say that was wrong to say that Obama endorsed her, and I clarified to say that they were using.
Yeah, but why didn't you check it? Why didn't you find out beforehand? You're supposed to be aware of this, right? See, I can do this. I can snark you back, buddy.
Credit to, if Obama said anything nice about me or my candidate, I would be blasting that shit everywhere. So good job, Haley, doing that. I agree with that. With Gillibrand, I still refer to her apology. I still think that she chose her words wrong and did say Mamdani was referencing jihad and intifada. Did she call Zarana jihadist? No, but I think that most people would infer that she was off the shooting from the hip at that point on a random radio show, and I think that's why she walked it back.
What was it in response to, though?
A caller called in and said like something about Zarwan being anti-Jewish and being unsafe for Jews in New York City.
What was that in response to, though? Why did they feel that?
Why did they feel that?
Because of the DSA in New York City, I'm guessing. And
wasn't it because
October
of his
8th.
refusal to disavow the globalize the intifada statement?
Oh yeah, he initially said that he would be unwilling to police the speech, and then he discouraged it later on. Yeah.
So don't you think if somebody already is talking about like globalize the intifada, it's not like Gillibrand just brought up, he jihadist. It's not like that language came from nowhere. And also, she didn't call him a jihadist, right? But like, if that's the language, I mean, that is what globalize the intifada means, right? It's a reference to jihad. Like,
gross.
So I don't understand what our huge criticism is of Gillibrand here. You just said shooting from the hip. It doesn't feel like she was shooting from the hip at all. It seems like she was responding to something pretty in particular now.
I'm referring to that she walked it back like a day later and clarified what she meant by that statement and said that her and Zaran spoke with each other. But I agree. It's good to fact check each other. So I'm happy we were able to do that tonight as well, and as well as last night. It's good to do. Thank you, Wick.
You're welcome. I try to make sure that everyone stays within the bounds of reality.
Very fair. You're very fair.
Within the bounds of reality.
When it comes down to it, at the end of the day,
Sorry, Wick.
Not to insert myself too much, even though I love to do it. I think that you can say all day that you're trying to be a conduit to pull people from the DSA or from these far lefty chats and make them more liberalized. But like until we see actual results, I think it's healthy and good to maybe doubt the effectiveness of your strategy. Because what I see happening isn't what you're saying of these DSA folks getting more liberalized. What I see happening is the opposite. I see extremism rising amongst especially young Democratic voters, right? Or young people in general. A lot of them don't vote, unfortunately, right? And so I wonder if maybe the tactic that you're using might not work.
It's a long-term plan as well. As I said before, it's not going to be one big fight where we're like, oh, this is definitively the end of the DSA. My goal is to pull influence from different areas as much as I can and influence things in a better direction. And again, loop. But yeah, that's going to be my position. I don't know if there's anything else we could throw in to make it any particular debate topics we can throw in to make it more poignant.
So you have no other issues with Destiny or how he's conducted himself either towards you or towards the leftists in general or towards anything?
Here's a question,
sure.
Just on the vein of the last question. If there were far left people and their goal was to ultimately subvert the Democratic Party, and they were to try to create lib left people to facilitate that, how is the people that they create, how would they be different than you, Josiah, or Pisco? What would they have those people do differently?
I would probably say that I do think I have some issue that there's a lack of coverage. I haven't seen
not answering
too
the
much
question.
of Pisco's coverage about like Hassan. For myself, I think I'm in the clear with how I cover Hassan pretty evenly. But I'll have to think about that question in particular. How would they design a liberal? They'd probably pick like a Keith Edwards in particular. And I think Pisco and Soypill and them push back against Keith Edwards. So he does strike me as somebody that might be a little bit sus, but he'd probably be like
Keith
the ideal.
Edwards
Okay, this guy's terrible at answering fucking questions. Holy shit.
coverage is identical to Josiah's and Pisco's and everybody else, right? Like their coverage is in line with his coverage.
Yeah,
Josiah was sweeping for him the entire time in that conversation, right?
Yeah,
So I was the only one really kind of pushing back on him.
Josiah said, I think he called into Pisco like the other night and said that it was a terrible performance by Keith, but I'm sure.
But that's a lie. That's a lie from Josiah. What he means is he's trying to sweep for Keith, who has legitimately deplorable fucking views. And Josiah's doing like the standard MAGA sweep where you're like, oh, it was a bad performance, or oh, like he was goofy. Oh, but he wasn't goofy. He stated what he meant
to be
clearly.
clear, Josiah did push back against, and I was there for
God,
this.
I love doing
Josiah did push back against Keith Edwards on Hassan. And he said that you should, and I remember this clearly, Josiah told Keith Edwards that you should reconsider your views on Hassan. Hassan is a net detriment to the Democratic Party. He did say that, so I will give Josiah his flowers for that.
Yeah, I won't. That's a crazy softball statement, but okay.
No,
Especially
look,
given the sweeping it for the entirety of the conversation.
I think Josiah could be much and should be much more harsh and hard on the left.
And I will admit, I might be a little personally in one direction just because Hassan and the people around him like consistently greenlight or make death threats towards me, and I might get assassinated, some of them because of them. But I understand why people like Josiah wouldn't give a fuck about stuff like that. But in my mind, that's like kind of fucked up. I was
gonna make that point where I was gonna make that point as well, where when like the community calls me an op, I think it's rational to have your community be closed off. So I think that's rational. But also, if anybody from your community, thinks that's how you engage in like a local Democratic Party, that's one reason why I comment on it. But I do think I don't blame you at all for I don't blame you for being like that.
Assassination threat against you directly, but it's against other people in your party, then it's still okay. But if they were doing it against you directly, then
the idea is that the idea as most of Hassan's fans and Calculacy's fans don't know about this.
I'm not black and I'm not an immigrant and I'm just like a white evangelical voter, I guess. So I don't care. Like
the Hassan fans, I would wager that probably 90% of Hassan's fans don't know that happens. And those people are who I'm trying to talk to.
Fine.
So that's
and they're
why,
never going to hear it from somebody like you. So I mean, it's at the end of the day, that's the.
But I can convince them to come to my political side and be away from Hassan through other means.
You'll never talk to them. They're never going to hear you. You're never going to have access to that audience like that. It
Okay,
hasn't happened yet, and it's never going to happen. But I mean,
Hussy Wussy in the Discord. Tisk tisk tisk. Who's Hussy Wussy? What Discord? What are you talking about? Uh, 90% of Hassan's fans shock their dogs. Why are you underestimating? There is way more than 90% of his fans that shock their dogs, bro.
we'll see.
And they kicked them.
Well, if your community can't support anybody who's going to be
My community
tangential
can
to
support
that.
people. What do you mean?
Hassan absolutely kicks his dog.
I got no credit from any. I mean, there are some people coming in and saying like, obviously I do criticize Hassan a lot.
You're part of a controlled opposition that only sits here to serve to make the other side more palatable. Yes, of course. I wouldn't want my community to
the op that says that Hassan's a pro-Russian, pro-Chinese hack. Yeah, that's what the op is going to say. Sure.
Yeah, but that doesn't cash out into anything meaningful for you. Would you poll support for any candidate that was running alongside Hassan Piker? You even endorsed El-Sayed in the primary, right? Forget the general, but you endorsed him in the primary, right? So this isn't moving the needle for you at all on anybody. You are the perfect op. You have criticism for Hassan, but it never cashes out in political action. So you get to try to maintain a facade of credibility to like left people, but the far left people know they never have to worry about somebody like you taking away from their political power. And all they'll do is they'll harvest an audience from you while you trick and intentionally or not try to subvert like mid-left people to far left people. Like that's the whole point.
Thing right now, if you're cheering on the death of someone in my super chats, we're going to remove you. Okay.
True.
Let me get rid of you. And
like, by
what
the
is
way,
this?
I've heard stronger statements
1984?
from MAGA people and that say bad things about Trump, but at the end of the day, it doesn't cash out at anything. So those statements are worthless. It's like the number one up tactic ever is like, well, I don't support everything Trump did, and I think he actually did some bad things. And it's like, oh, do you think that Trump was still the better pick than Kamala? Absolutely. And it's like, okay, so it doesn't really matter. It's just these are like op statements.
Listen, I don't get ratio 200 comments to 10 likes saying that liberal Zionism is good, just so I could be called a. I mean, you could call me an op. I really don't care, but I
Sounds
will
like
still
Oh my
defend
God.
liberal Zionism.
Well, you're saying
A
liberal
loud
Zionism is good.
motorbike,
Okay,
Jesus.
So, wow, big statement. Would you ever change your
Limited.
support of a candidate based on them using APAC funding
Me
as like
free
a singular
speech,
thing
Wick!
to attack their primary candidate with?
I thought this was supposed to be an open platform for people to share different ideals. And Wick is suppressing them.
Would you ever support anybody? Like, at the end of the day, what does this cash out into? They're just some tweets.
I think Cory Bush probably gets into that realm. I would not support like Cory Bush, but like Abdul, the money was insane. It was like objectively the #1 source of money in the entire primary. I think it set records from APAC. And APAC, like, APAC I think is a deplorable. I support like J Street more so.
Sure. I mean, that doesn't really answer my question at all, but I'm curious. Who do you think?
Sometimes it's
would have been the
justified to
best-
criticize APAC, and it's not like anti-Semitic. Sometimes it is.
Wow. Okay, I never would have guessed that. Who would you support more in the Wisconsin primary?
I would want people to vote for Crowley. I think Hong is a mess. Not that I love Crowley, but
If you were in Wisconsin voting, you would vote for Crowley over Hong.
I would, with a hope and a prayer, vote for Crowley, and then I would vote for Hong. I would probably make pro-Hong arguments as long as she's somewhat freaking, I don't know if she'll moderate, but yeah, I would vote for Crowley if I was there.
Okay.
I support Josh Shapiro. I mean, I support pragmatists across the board. We do exist.
Okay. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to finish reading super chats. I'm going to give you guys
Trooper
quick
chats.
Wait, hold on.
thoughts.
Did we feel like? Did you feel like? Did you feel like Crockett didn't endorse Tallarico?
She said vote for the Democrats. She did not say I endorse Tallarico, but she did say vote for Democrats, so that's good.
Okay. We remember the 16-second clip from the last thing where I guess that was good enough for Al Sayed to we say he would have endorsed Haley Stevens after, right?
Yeah, there is a clip of Crockett saying she would support Tallarico, then she went back on it. So we don't. I would say
Oh
I
my
would give
God,
you
I was like,
points
why is
there to
that
say
showing up?
We could hypothetically say that Abdul would not have actually followed through with it, like Crockett
Well,
did
no.
not.
So Crockett. This was the morning after the race. She said, "This morning I called James and congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united."
Does anyone have a video to recommend after this, by the way? Because I don't know. Like, I could do the Andrew Tate shit, but I just feel like I'm just going to get annoyed. He's kind of really not that interesting of a person, to be honest.
United, because this is bigger.
It's just
than any
like
one person.
misogyny
This is about the
based.
future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track. With the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win. I'm committed to doing my part and will continue working to elect Democrats up and down the ballot.
There's
That
a
doesn't count as
TikTok
an
I've been
endorsement to
sent
you?
of you. Jolo, do you want to watch it together?
Oh, he's
wait,
gone.
crap.
He ran away. Actually, I know who I want to watch.
Hello? Did we lose him
Jasmine
again?
Crockett.
Don't
Okay,
worry,
I'm done.
Based.
Hello? Jola, are you still here, buddy? Lovely buddy. Are you here? Did we lose him, gang?
All right, I got a
have
video
a
to line
TikTok
up.
he did on July 9th about the Tallarico thing and what he said, and I'd like to see his comments. But I want him here to see it. Okay. We're gonna give it like another minute.
Okay, I'm just gonna say to the, 110 people still watching, thank you for sticking by. I gotta be honest, after the raid, I fully expected it to be like at least 20 viewers. So thank you for sticking around. And thank you for all of the newbies in chat. Ubi newbie. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for your shots for the raid.
In the meantime, let me read some more super chats. Hopefully he gets back.
But also, fuck Chinchilla. No, I'm just kidding.
Where did I leave off? Okay. $20 from Bangarang. Thank you for the $20.
Bangarang.
There is nothing to gain from siding with
Bow,
socialists,
bow,
communists,
bow,
or any
bow,
DSA
bow.
member in general. They are controlled opposition with the goal of stealing the party from libs. They are not allies. They don't see the libs as allies. Good point. F4 in leader for $20 more. What is the obsession with keeping the door open, quote unquote, for
I saw something the other day in the subreddit about a documentary that mentioned Destiny, streamer drama document. Megu shocks his dog? I mean, I do. Purple Lamborghini lurkin'. True. Actually, do you want me to do the, do you want me to get my dog and say, you know, tell him to do place and everything? Will that be good? Do you guys want to see that real quick? I think it's hilarious every time I do it, so. You know what? We're doing it. It's my stream. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, be right back. All right, you ready? Benji, place. You know what? I deserve that cough. Deserved that, to be honest. After making my dog do fucking place, you know?
lefties when they never support our candidate? Why not focus
Oh,
on strengthening
dude.
our own party instead of reaching out to these people that slap our hands away?
True.
Thank you for your $20. Thank you for the Tier 1 membership. Mythos GG. Really appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, might help if I actually put the live screen up.
Lost our connection there. Well, that
Yeah, he's a
sucks.
very good doggy.
How do you think the conversation went, Destiny?
I mean, I feel like I'm looping on the same points. I
Yeah.
don't know if these are like talking points that go around between like all of like.
Did
these
you ever
weird,
see
like, left
the
sweepers,
shock
but it's always
AI
like the
music
same
video?
weird
No, I
collection
have
of
not.
things where it's like this. We'll hold them accountable in the future. And it's
Sorry
like,
for
no, you won't,
coughing, guys.
Right? That you can't do it now. And like I said, and I think this is really hard for people because like our elections and all of this have gotten more and more extreme.
Oh, Stumbling sent me something. Is it a DM? No, where is it? I just saw you sent it. Is it in food court? What the hell's going on here? Oh, there it is. Jesus. Posted link in Gen Chat. Not sure what it was about. I mean, it's EDP. Yeah, I think this is pretty much done, right? He's not rejoining. Yeah, and he's just taking questions. Okay. You know what? We'll check this out real quick. Oh, no.
To take away and come away with I am.
It's in your Gen Chat. Do we want to watch this? I mean, it is EDP. You know, ED pedophile. Maybe? Actually, we'll watch this one first because I really like Iris Embry. They're a very good content creator, and I really want to, you know, get people to watch her stuff.
And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our lineage.
Actually, you know what? While we're here too, you know, when you all get the chance, sub to Iris's stuff. They are very, very, very good. I vouch this content creator big time. Very good.
And our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome.
Now, I've spent a lot of time over the last few years talking about the authoritarian right and the threat that these people pose to our society.
You have nothing. You are nothing.
I hope that by now we're basically all on the same page about that. But if you're with me, there's actually a lot more that you can do than say Trump is bad. You should take a positive stance in defense of the tenets of liberalism. I expanded on this in a previous video I made called Liberal Conservatism, the
I'll have a
History
look
and
a little bit
Concepts of
later.
Western Political
Chinchilla?
Philosophy, because I feel that many people sort of identify as
All good.
liberals or progressives or as left-leaning because they look at the Trump Republicans or some other right-wing political party and they think, oh God, don't want to be on the side of those people. So then they place themselves on the other side, but they haven't actually spent a whole lot of time thinking about their own ideas or the ideas that underlie that position. So I wanted to encourage people to think about what they actually believe, where those beliefs came from, and why they're valid, to give you a bedrock of positive belief on which to base your opposition to authoritarian movements like MAGA.
No worries, I will.
The 3 points that I
Thanks,
find
Chinchilla.
myself repeating are liberty, democracy, and rule of law. I believe these are the essential pillars of
I'm a third gut mogger in Gen. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you okay? You know what? You're getting moderated. You're a moderator now. I'm just kidding. I need to stop doing that. I've been doing that lately where I just, like, if someone says something and I don't understand it, I moderate them.
of modern, Western, liberal, democratic societies. The principles or attitudes that we were defending throughout the 20th century from fascism and communism. But while making the case to people that the Trump right wing is against the fundamental tenets of our society, that they would act unlawfully to take away your liberty and suppress democracy in order to keep themselves in power if they could, it's also worthwhile to point out and to understand that these
should at least
important
make them pay.
values
True.
are also opposed by the extreme left. If they could get away with it, they would take power by coup, they would dismantle your democracy, and they would take away your liberty in order to impose their own unpopular ideas onto your country. When you get down to it, they care just as little about liberty, democracy, or rule of law as Trump and MAGA. And just as a bonus, I don't know if it's a coincidence or maybe you think there's something to this, they seem about equally likely to be liars and conspiracy theorists.
That's
So in
kinda
this
funny.
fight against the Republican Party, against Trump, against MAGA, you have to be mindful about whom you ally yourself with, because some of these people on the left are not your friends either. We should take a stance in defense of liberty, democracy, and rule of law. That is the tent that I care about defending. And in so doing, we should resist the influence of totalitarian
This is so cute. I do not understand this, maybe.
ideologies, regardless of what direction we think they're
Oh, hang on, what's this?
coming from. So why are we even talking about left-wing and right-wing? These terms actually originate with the French Revolution.
I am lost in all this
period, when the
political.
supporters
Yes.
of the
Well, fortunately, Iris is going to explain it to us because they are awesome.
monarchy sat on the right side of the French National Assembly, while supporters of the revolution sat on the left. The one-dimensional political spectrum that's implied by this arbitrary seating arrangement has had enduring appeal, and is useful as a lens of understanding most political disputes, to give a simple name for differences in attitude or disposition about the ways that we should be governing. But if there's only one dimension, then logically you would think this divides politics in two. You're either on the left side of things or you're on the right side. So if your country is facing an extreme right-wing threat, you might think that, of course, anybody on the left side of things would be your ally in that fight, and vice versa. But in reality, as our experience tells us, extremists make for unreliable allies, and they're more likely to stab you in the back in effort to take power for themselves than to be good faith participants in a united front. This was true in previous eras, and unfortunately, it still seems true today. So you might imagine that when these guys over here all mobilize and try to take over society, all of us over here, everybody but them, we all gang up on them to defeat the threat, right? But instead, while we're trying to fight to defend society, these people over here just start attacking us too, and then we're getting it from both sides. So apparently there's something more going on here than just left versus right. There's people who believe in liberal democracy, and there's people who want to destroy liberal democracy to install themselves into power when they see the opportunity to do so, and it's not really related to their position along a left-right spectrum. The pattern that we see over and over again is the extreme left hates the center left, meaning the left side of the liberal majority who actually believe in democracy, because they want to take it over. They want to monopolize the opposition. They want to become the left. In fact, they are so fixated on controlling what is or is not the left that in modern discourse they have coalesced under the banner of leftism, this vague neologism that kind of functions to obscure the radical nature of their own views, and which then also serves as a category from which they try to exclude anybody they deem not sufficiently radical, but then they call anybody who's not in their bubble right-wing because, I mean, they're not on the left. I see some people on the
Java spawned 10,000 emus into my local DSA chapters meeting. You do not want that kind of hell. Do you have any idea how many people would die? Billions.
right use the term left.
You know what the death toll of the emu war was? 10,000 billion people.
As though it really does just mean anybody.
Yeah,
left of
not so
center.
funny now,
The
is it?
people on the left who actually call themselves leftists use this term only for radical, revolutionary, anti-capitalist politics, especially Marxist-Leninists, Maoists, and other flavors of communist. It's kind of like how for a few years there, Nazis were rebranded as alternative right. People with extreme views are naturally always looking for new labels for their ideas because the old labels have such negative connotation. And there's utility in trying to take over a word like leftist or alternative because they
Brian, thank you for the sub, bud. I don't know if you're watching the stream, but thank you.
have such a broad composition. There's no specific etymology. It's just leftism. It doesn't sound
Also, it didn't
like you're
show up in
committed
my
to a
thing,
very
so I don't know how
specific
that works.
view, but then, if you know, you know. Now, part of my goal in this video is to walk through some of the most popular far-left historical revisionism. Ideologically speaking, we in the West basically live in the shadow of World War II, for better or for worse. People on the far right infamously downplay the events of the Holocaust in various ways. Maybe all the numbers were exaggerated. Maybe they weren't really meant to be death camps until the destruction of the supply lines, or some other discredited idea like that. They might also try to argue that the war was really Britain's fault and that Hitler wanted peace. And they would love if you would believe that the Allied leaders were really no better than the Axis leaders. Did you know that Churchill might have been being controlled by Zionist bankers?
Hey, the alert worked. Thank you, Brian. You're a legend.
Something, and they don't do this because they actually care about morally condemning somebody like Churchill. They're not trying to get to the truth of the matter and understand the error.
The YouTube algorithm overlords brought me to your channel. So far, so good. Thank you so much. I make a lot of long form content, so if you get the chance, check that out too. And yeah, welcome.
More accurately, it's all about trying to regain control of the narrative to prevent the real historical record from being used as a bludgeon against their ideology.
Yes.
Their goal is to introduce confusion, doubt, misinformation, and the appearance of a lack of consensus about what really happened, and it's really all just a way of rhetorically disarming you. That's their actual goal. So too is this the goal of the far left.
Holy fuck, Iris is so much fucking smarter than me. Holy shit!
Whose revisionism is equally insidious in motivation and effect, but it gets far less attention and is not as often corrected, probably just because their retelling of events doesn't concern parts of history that are as emphasized and contested as the facts about the Holocaust. For kind of the same reason, there's a greater chance of a normal person who stumbles across these narratives actually believing them, because you just really don't see these views debunked nearly as often. So let's just set the stage, a little bit of context. If you were to rewind the clock about a century from World War II, in most European countries, monarchist governments were in the process of losing their power to liberal Republican reformists who were creating democratic governments in their place. In some countries, the monarchy has still never been formally abolished, but they've abdicated all or nearly all of their governing authority to a democratic parliament of some kind, while in all other European countries, the monarchy is formally no more. One wave of revolutions along the way from monarchy to democracy happened in 1848. Then another wave of revolutions came around the end of World War I. Almost every country in Europe had a revolution of some kind at one of these 2 points. So this was a pretty revolutionary time for Europe. These periods of upheaval where tons of people go out onto the streets en masse and protest against the government trying to overthrow it naturally have a lot of potential for change, but they're also naturally very risky because your institutions are unstable throughout the transition. There's a lot of opportunity for some well-organized extremist groups to swoop in and seize the day, which does—
Oh no. This is... Okay. Maybe I should talk to Iris. Because they're very, very, very good commentator. But this is shit that people need to stop using MS Paint
This happens
in
sometimes.
their videos.
For example, by the 1920s in Italy, there had been years of conflict against the monarchy, but the people failed to fully dislodge the Italian king, and he still had an army of loyal followers. This left Italy in something of an unstable political situation. And then, as I'm sure you know, Benito Mussolini found
Mr. Spaghetti, Steven Spaghetti II.
founder of this cool new thing called fascism, and who had organized his followers into a dangerous paramilitary force now known as the Black Shirts, apparently saw an opening and personally led a brazen coup d'etat now remembered as the March on Rome, where they just walked into the city and declared their intent to take over the government by force if need be. The Italian king, seeing that the day was lost, chose to avoid unnecessary bloodshed and simply surrendered to Mussolini, declaring Mussolini prime minister and then kinda just taking a step back from politics for a while. Mussolini was then able to centralize his power and rule as the dictator of Italy for the next 20 years until his defeat in World War II.
One of the things that I've noticed is that is a little bit different from back then, right? The political instability was caused through a lot of, I believe this was like like they just had World War One. They had like economic instability throughout all of the world, right? The Great Depression. You know, whereas nowadays, it feels like a lot of the political instability is being caused by rapid economic growth and like people feeling like a lot of their needs are not being met. And, you know, honestly, a lot of hysteria, right? Like perceived, you know, political issues rather than factual ones, right? People think things are causing issues in their lives when they're just fucking not. Like, I don't know, just seems a little bit different.
Another place where we saw this pattern
but we still end up
play
with the same
out,
result.
and by this pattern I mean a period of conflict and instability leading to a power vacuum that could be exploited by an extremist group to take power by coup and make themselves the new dictators, was over in Russia. Only a few years before the March on Rome, in 1917 there was widespread opposition to the government of Tsar Nicholas II, culminating in what was called the February Revolution.
Yes.
This led to the Tsar abdicating his position and to the formation of the Russian Provisional Government. The first elections in Russian history, well, the first, like, modern democratic ones, they kind of had elections before, were then scheduled for later that year. For a time, it sounded like great news for Russia, like it would be following in the footsteps of Western European countries marching toward democracy. But it wouldn't last. Instead, the most extreme group in the country, the Bolshevik Party, flipped the table. Their supporters, organized and militant, attacked and took over the new government in what was called the October Revolution. Elections were held as planned shortly afterward, probably because they thought they would win and be—
See, this isn't like, this is something that I wasn't aware of. I didn't realize that they held elections after the Tsar went away.
legitimized, but instead they didn't win. They didn't get a majority, they didn't even get the largest plurality. So what did they do? Well, they just ignored the results, dissolved the assembly, and established a one-party state with the Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin ruling as its first dictator. And
we're on our way. Watch TB and Hep C cases go through the fucking roof. Dogtober. Thank you, Chinchilla. We need more dog electrocution, dog killing references in the chat. I think I've seen this video before. Yeah, I posted it in Food Shop's recommendations because I just genuinely love this content. It's really, really good.
Till his death 7 years later in 1924, succeeded by Joseph Stalin, who then ruled for the next 29 years until 1953. In response to the Bolshevik rise to power, a civil war broke out in
very
Russia.
smart and very
After
articulate.
a few years, in 1922, the new Bolshevik government emerged victorious. Their domestic enemies now crushed, they regrouped and formed a new entity they called the Soviet Union. And as World War II didn't cause its early demise the way it did for the fascists and Nazis, this entity would rule over Russia and the numerous other countries that it was able to subvert and dominate until it finally ran out of steam in 1991. The fascist coup in Italy gave us 20 years of dictatorship. The Bolshevik coup in Russia gave us over 70 years. In those precious years after Lenin took power, he oversaw a period of widespread political repression now known as the Red Terror, kind of a throwback to the Reign of Terror from the French Revolution. Essentially, the Red Terror refers to Bolshevik militants going across the countryside suppressing dissent on Lenin's order. They publicly tortured and executed people they considered to be rebels to discourage anybody else from standing up to their newfound authority.
Hassan sees this and he's like, based!
The USSR became a repressive, militant, imperialist, authoritarian society. It utilized slave labor, it engaged in political purges, it allowed no freedom of expression or criticism of the state, it employed aggressive propaganda, control of media, suppression of the truth, it engaged in genocide against groups that fought back against being ruled over by it, which is why the Holodomor happened in Ukraine. After Stalin took over, it went back to enforcing laws against homosexuality. It didn't even achieve freedom for the working class, which was supposed to be the whole point of their movement when it began. The average worker was freer and better off living in America. The Bolshevik leadership would all the while proclaim they were acting on behalf of the people, even though they didn't gain power democratically
Never to forgive,
and they couldn't maintain
never to
power
forget.
democratically, which is why they never held elections.
you.
Instead of actually giving people a voice in government, what authoritarians often do is speak on behalf of an abstract, almost spiritual notion of the people or the country or the nation.
Worst thing that happened in the 21st century that the Soviet Union fell, by the way. I know, right? It was so sad. You know, like, remember all of those, remember when the Soviet Union fell? And there were just like billions of people crying and despairing over the fall of the Soviet Union. They didn't celebrate, they didn't cheer, they weren't super happy about it, were they? Putin or Hassan? Oh, both. Yes, both.
One that can never really be measured.
Yep, I was there. John Soviet was balling. True. Well, I mean, he is a baller. Haha.
And which has no specific or concrete form outside the mind of the dictator, whom we just have to trust is somehow acting on our best interests. They speak for us, you see, as our
More of a fan of John Pork. I've never been a fan of Justical, to be honest, but, you know, that's fair enough.
Self-appointed representatives. Look at this incredible Bolshevik propaganda art. I guess political art, we'll call it. Technically not a poster. Wow, look at that. That's them. That's the Bolsheviks. The people.
Wow.
Look, it's like they're fighting for us, you know? It's like they're a big us. All of us united.
Wait, isn't that Attack on Titan? Anyway, I love glazing on East Germany stationed KGB officers turned president. True? Yeah? Oh, God.
As them. They are us. Oh, wow, that's so awesome. And the term Soviet in the Soviet Union. What is a Soviet? Soviet is a Russian term that meant a local workers' council. What does their country or government have to do with the local workers' councils? Well, essentially nothing. Part of the way the Bolshevik Party gained power initially was that there were a bunch of local Soviets that supported them in St. Petersburg, but that was kind of the end of their involvement in the story. They named the country after this concept in order to imply, well, it's kind of just the same implication over and over. We are the workers. We are the Soviets. We are the unions. We're on the side of the people. Even though we took power by coup, lost the election, and refused to ever hold elections again. Like, it's all just propaganda. Let's go over some of the actual history here. In the February Revolution, the result was not the provisional government becoming all-powerful, but de facto control of St. Petersburg being effectively split between the government and the more grassroots unions that ran the streets, the Soviets. Meaning de jure power was held with the government, but if they were to give some insane order, they would probably face pushback from the Soviets and lose control of the city. At this point, the provisional government was made up of politicians who had been appointed years prior to be part of the State Duma, meaning the assembly. They were technically elected in a sense, but through a process unlike modern elections where every person gets one vote and every vote is weighted equally. Instead, some people were explicitly given more voice in the system depending on their status in the country. This was called kuria. Now, the Bolsheviks criticized members of the provisional government for being social elites from a wealthy background, but they did disagree with the Tsar, and they were the ones who got the Tsar to step down, and they were pushing for reforms in the country, including creating a fair democracy, which is why they only declared themselves a provisional government and they committed to holding elections later in the year. In those months between the February and October revolutions, there was general unrest that led to an attempted violent overthrow of the provisional government, now known as the July Days, which was provoked and encouraged by the Bolsheviks. They framed this not as give us power, give we the Bolshevik Party all power, but as give power to the Soviets, the people, because the Soviets were just the normal people, the rank and file whom the Bolsheviks needed to do the fighting for them. This revolt partway through the year failed, and some Bolshevik leaders were arrested. Lenin fled the country to...
That's why you often hear people like Karl Kalinske whenever, you know, there's like a leftist movement being pushed, right? He will frame it as the people supporting leftist, right? Rather than, you know, the leftist being unhinged.
Finland in order to evade capture.
This is what the people want.
Later that year. By this point, it had pretty much been determined that Lenin's rise to power would be fueled by the notion that he was merely speaking for the people, the local Soviets, a man of the revolution. But of course, once he was actually in power, the Soviets were no longer of much use to him. First, their ranks were purged of anybody who didn't support Lenin's new government, and then what remained was subordinated by the government bureaucracy until they were basically just powerless rubber stamp committees of party-approved members who were really only there to help maintain the illusion of proletarian rule. See, before the revolution, Soviets were very open. They had a lot of different party members arguing against one another. They really were...
I don't know what is all the, for a lack of a better word, hate against Karl. I wouldn't describe it as hate, but Karl Kalinske is very much a part of the same problem that people like Hassan Piker and that have. And this is someone who used to glaze, you know, Karl Kalinske, right? And I think the problem is that you see him hating on MAGA and everything like that, but you would never see him do this shit for Hassan Piker, right? In fact, he was sweeping for Hassan recently, right? Like, I think he literally said that Hassan didn't shock his dog or some shit. So, Karl Kalinske is a part of the same problem.
Just an organ of grassroots localist democracy, which is exactly why taking their name and trying to appropriate that ethos was so useful for propaganda purposes. This perversion of democratic rhetoric is a deliberate form of propaganda, trying to take the wind out of the sails of actual Democrats or actual calls for democracy by just stealing our language. But then they don't actually do the democracy part. They just talk as though they do. It's like, oh, you don't need...
Bad politique? How dare you?
To actually have elections. You have me. I will just channel the popular will and do things on behalf of the people.
True.
But no elections. There's not going to be. You don't get to vote. You don't actually get.
You
to
don't need
express
an
your
election.
political will. You can't organize an opposition.
You will never
party.
have
You
to
have
have
no
another
ability to
election
vote me
again.
Out of power. You're all just going to shut up and do what I say.
Donald Trump.
But it's okay because I'm acting on behalf of the people because I said so. You see, I gave myself a title that says the people's something. Even the name of their political party, the Bolsheviks, served as implicit propaganda. This word is Russian for majority, which, okay, I realize originated from Lenin's faction being the majority coalition within an early form of their political party, but then that name stuck around way beyond the context of its origin, and it effectively morphed into a way of implying that they, and only they, spoke for the majority of Russians. Think about the irony of the rulers of a one-party state being called the majority party when they couldn't get a majority if they held elections. Now, to explain why the Soviets...
That's such a good point. I know what is populaire. You're all secret socialists. Thank you. The people's excuse for barbarism. We are the people. We represent the people, and the people are 5 people.
The Soviet Union never became a democracy, despite its rulers' repeated insistence that they cared about the people. Some of its defenders will insist that democracy as we now know it wasn't feasible in Russia at the time, because most of their population were illiterate, living in a rural setting with little to no political education. I've seen the same excuse made for Mao Zedong, the Chinese communist dictator who was equally repressive to democracy for the entirety of his rule. If it wasn't enough to dismiss this just because it's obviously absurd, I mean, it just doesn't sound like it makes any sense that you can't build a democracy when most people are not. Like, why couldn't you just have a democracy anyway? Even if you had a bunch of illiterate peasants who didn't really engage with the system, couldn't the people in the cities who know how to read vote on things? Like, it's not really a full explanation. But we also have a clear counterexample in India, a country.
I consider myself more so on the left, but goddamn, there are so many terms for this BS. I just want people to have respect, have human rights, and have clean water and food. Well, yeah, but that's also, the problem is that is the same argument that people like Hassan Piker make now. So it's like really difficult to engage with the topic. Replace the bourgeoisie with more bourgeoisie. Hassan Piker is the bourgeoisie, but he is representing the people. Anyway, you see the point? But yeah, Blanket, the same thing that you're saying there, Hassan Piker also says, I just want people to have good healthcare. I just want people to have free healthcare. No. I'm just pointing it out, right? You might be engaging with good faith, but that's the same argument that a lot of leftists use right now, right? What I would say is this. If you think that everything is completely fucked and broken to the point where you need to break the rules to get things done and for the system to work, you're probably Hassan Piker, you know?
That transitioned to a democracy from a similar starting position as
they also weaponize a lot of like potential grievances to push what they actually want.
Russia or China, in that they also had a very large population that was mostly illiterate peasants living in villages out in the countryside. They sent canvassers all across the country to reach people in every small town and village and teach them about how their new government worked and provide them with information about the political parties and their platforms. I mean, it takes time and effort and political will, but it's obviously possible. You can build a democracy, and it's not like these other countries lacked the time or resources to do so. Nehru and other Indian leaders built democracy in India because they valued democracy. They wanted their country to be democratic. Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Castro, and other communist leaders, they didn't refuse to do this because it couldn't be done or wasn't feasible. They just didn't want to because they didn't care about democracy, because they were just dictators and they knew that democracy would spell the end of their reign.
Yes.
Today, the far left...
It's not about representing the people, it's about getting power and holding on to it.
Left tries to gloss over all of the details about the Soviet Union's formation. They probably hope that you assume it was a popular revolution of the people and not just like a fascist-style coup d'etat by a military extremist group that was never popular and never confirmed by the people. They downplay all the horrific actions by the Soviet Union. They try to whitewash its whole history and the morality of its leaders. In some cases, they try to just shift all blame onto Joseph Stalin specifically, as though Vladimir Lenin wasn't equally monstrous, or as though Trotsky wouldn't have been as bad or worse. The intended takeaway here is really just that the USSR was a terrible country, and anybody who tries to uphold or defend or whitewash its image should be held in the same regard as a modern-day neo-Nazi or neo-fascist trying to do damage control for Mussolini.
But this is the problem, right? A lot of the USSR stuff has been like normalized in the media as well a little bit, right? You know, Bryan Cranston played a movie where it was about Red Scare, right? And it tried to normalize the arguments around, like, you know, being a socialist. You know, which is kind of fucked up, because I like Bryan Cranston. I think he's a great actor, but, like, fuck, dude.
Italy or Nazi Germany. The best case scenario is that you're just disqualifyingly ignorant, in which case I don't know why the fuck you're talking about something so controversial. But even more likely than that is that you're just a twisted person whose goal is to justify tyranny and totalitarianism. So with all due respect, stay the fuck away from me.
Based.
Now let's come back to 1918, right in between the Bolshevik coup and the fascist coup. At the end of World War I, there was a general revolt in Germany that led to the overthrow of the German monarchist government, establishing a
Your mistake was reading.
Democratic republic in
Reading
its place
is
with hardly any
inherently
bloodshed.
problematic
in a vacuum,
behavior.
This seems like a pretty good development. But the far left in Germany responded by initiating a violent uprising, mobilizing and attacking the new government, hoping to take advantage of the instability of the situation to seize power in Germany for themselves and rule over that country the same way the Bolsheviks had just done in Russia. This became known as the Spartacus Uprising due to the involvement of an organization called the Spartacus League. Ooh, the Spartacus League. What is Spartacus?
Oh, update. Very close still. So, just in case anyone was wondering.
Spartacus is the name of somebody from ancient history whom we know very little about other than that he was a slave, but then he escaped and then he participated in a war. The communists just latched on to this identity because I guess they wanted to imply that they were also like slaves fighting for their freedom, which is ironic because in practice their ideology is pretty much the exact opposite of that. They're totalitarians who want to destroy democracy. But it's interesting to keep track of all the different names they give to themselves. Anyway, after about a week, the Spartacist uprising had fortunately failed. And in the aftermath of that defeat, some of the German Communist Party leaders, the most well-known of them being Rosa Luxemburg, were shot and killed by military irregulars which the government had employed to help put down the revolt. Now to this day, in a performance of unmatched irony, the far left acts as though this sequence of events, the dissolution of the monarchy, the creation of a democratic republic, the communists then trying to overthrow the democratic republic to re-establish an authoritarian society like the Bolsheviks, but then losing and some of their leaders getting killed, constitutes the center, the liberals and Democrats and Republicans, the people who actually believed in democracy and who were trying to defend and uphold the republic, turning on and backstabbing them, the communists, the people who initiated an attempted revolt against the government? In far
I saw something about Milwaukee delaying the results. It's a larger area. Yeah, there's a bit of a problem. Apparently, from what I can tell, all of the Hong-leaning districts are more than 95% reporting, except for one, which is maybe 1,000 votes remaining. Yeah. The rest of the underreporting results are all Crowley-leaning. Look, you know, it's not over till it's over, right? Anybody could win it now, but it doesn't look good for leftists when they can barely win a Dem primary, like, and then they're going against a Republican candidate with plus 90 fucking, you know, approval. It's like, it's going to be so fucking harsh.
left communities, you'll see people say like, oh really? Who killed Rosa Luxemburg? And the answer they have in mind is like, the Social Democrats. They're scorned over this. They think that it vindicates them and condemns the center. And it's a total inversion of the reality. The Spartacist uprising was the Communist Party trying to opportunistically backstab everybody else. Germany had just succeeded at becoming a democracy, but it was still kind of on shaky ground. And this extremist group wanted to throw everybody else under the bus, drag Germany back into authoritarianism, but this time
And a liberal authoritarian revolt can't be co-opted by political despots. Okay. But perhaps it can. Muhaha.
I'm with them at the helm. These people were fucking traitors. The far left also still commemorates and mourns the death of Rosa Luxemburg as though she were a saint, an innocent victim of liberal treachery. Really, they just try to use her death to justify their hatred for liberalism and democracy. But to be clear, Rosa Luxemburg was somebody who actively incited and supported a violent insurrection against a democratic government. This was not a good or innocent person. If she had her way, she would have brought tyranny to the world. Now, to be sure, her death was basically a vigilante execution, like the communist militants who captured and shot Mussolini. It was not an outcome of real justice. I don't think she deserved to die. This was not an ideal way for things to end. But the unfortunate nature of her death doesn't change what she was in life. There was nothing admirable about this person. There's nothing worth commemorating. And I know, she had some minor disagreements with Lenin, but the point of
You wore your DGG liberalism shirt today? Based? I need to read this part out. After she was killed, Rosa's body was thrown into the Land Waher, I can't pronounce that, canal in Berlin, which I'm showing you in black and white for dramatic effect. That's hilarious.
Worth commemorating. And I know, she had some minor disagreements with Lenin, but the point of her book, Reform or Revolution, is that she was arguing for revolution. She supported the Bolshevik coup, she supported the Spartacist uprising, she thought it was a tactical mistake to fully dissolve the assembly, but obviously her intention would have been to disenfranchise anybody who didn't support the core communist project. What would be the point of supporting something like the Spartacist uprising seizing power if you then just turn around and hold elections, get voted out, and then cede power back to the center coalition anyway? Obviously, the whole point was to dismantle German democracy. People try so hard to turn Rosa into something she wasn't. After the failure of the communist uprising, things did settle down for a little bit, though the situation in Germany wasn't great. The Nazi Party was formed in 1920 and over the next decade came into its own as a rising force in Germany. They started winning seats in the German parliament, and they organized their supporters into a dangerous paramilitary force now known as the Brown Shirts, officially the Sturmbataillon. This was also shortened to the S.
Wear that in New York and try to survive the onslaught of low-T YT boys. Okay. I don't think... Nah.
Wow, it's like sexual assault on TikTok. The Brown Shirts roamed...
Dude, what?
Shirts. Officially the Sturmbataillon. This was also shortened to the SA. Wow, it's like sexual assault on TikTok. The Brown Shirts roamed the countryside, intimidating or attacking their opposition, trying to discourage or make it more difficult for other parties to organize.
That's so fucking
in the years
funny.
To come, using these Brown Shirt militias to control the streets and engage in widespread voter intimidation would be a key tactic for how the Nazi Party seized control of government. The German Communist Party began forming similar groups around this time for their own activities, and by this point the German Communist Party was effectively funded and controlled by the Komintern, meaning the Communist International, an organization effectively controlled by the Russian dictator Joseph Stalin, whose goal was to meddle in other countries' politics to foment communist revolution there, in order to dismantle their democratic governments and bring them into alignment with the Soviet Union. Geez, kind of an uncomfortable situation for Germans in those years. I mean, they had something terrible pressing on both sides. To combat this...
I gotta react the same way you would react, right? Hi, Mix!
growing threat of extremist groups, a paramilitary counterforce called the Iron Front was formed in December 1931.
Based.
Really? December 1931? I mean, better late than never, I guess. It was officially independent, but associated heavily with the Center Coalition, and especially with the center-left Social Democrats, which at this point was the largest party in the German parliament, governing in cooperation with the Center Party and the German Democratic Party, among others. In terms of their own actual political beliefs, the governing coalition included a pretty broad range of people, including socialists, but they were united in their desire to defend democracy from anti-democratic extremists like the Nazis and the communists. So not all socialists are terrible. You can be a socialist and choose to side with democracy against communist dictatorship, and many did.
Yes.
The Iron Front provided security at public events, got into street brawls with brown shirts, and were known for defacing Nazi propaganda with their own logo, the Three Arrows. A few months into the following year, May 1932, the German far left decided to centralize their paramilitary efforts into a new front they called Anti-Fascist Action, shortened to Antifa. A modern reader may see this name and think, oh, okay, so they were joining the fight against Nazis, right? Against fascism? But no. See, the communists of the 1920s and 30s were seriously using the term fascism as a label for effectively anybody who wasn't also a communist.
Wow, doesn't that sound fucking familiar? Jesus Christ! Scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. What does that fucking sound like? Jesus
Do you think
Christ.
people today overuse this term? They explicitly said that they were the only anti-fascist party in Germany and that every other party, including the Social Democrats, were effectively fascists. They called them social fascists. They overused this word to the point of meaninglessness. So here was the actual composition of the German parliament, and then this is what it looks like according to the communists. Like that was how they talked. There was them, and then there was fascism. And this is kind of important for understanding the name.
This is actually schizophrenic that people were like that back then and they're still like this today. Jesus fucking Christ.
Anti-fascist action. It meant
that triggered me
opposition
so
to
much.
Anybody who stood in the Communist Party's way, including the Center Coalition.
It's official. Numbers. Okay. Just wait. Are you talking about the election? Okay, what am I looking at? Vadim. Milwaukee only, my bad. Shut the fuck up, visual! I'm just kidding. Vadim! Get rid of that. I don't want to see it. Oh my god, my laugh sounds like I have fucking lung cancer, dude. Jesus. 30s politicians be like, stand on table and fire a gun. That is true. TB, yeah, I've got tuberculosis.
Pro-democracy moderates. And they explicitly identified not the brown shirts, but the Iron Front as their main enemy, the main focus of their ire. So in practice, the name Antifa was dishonest propaganda bullshit. This was not an anti-fascist organization so much as it was an authoritarian anti-democracy organization dedicated to bringing Soviet-style
lead increased by
dictatorship to
1K
Germany.
base.
And so the fight in Germany during those years was...
Yeah, but then like, you know, it's gonna like trickle and then it'll be within like fucking 100 votes again. So
not left versus right.
When it extends way further, then we get hyped, you know?
As it took form on both the far right and the far left. The far right and far left, meanwhile, though they officially hated each other, were...
I despise TB, 48-hour isolation. My dude, it used to be a death sentence. Just be happy that's all you get.
Effectively aligned in their desire to...
Also, Total Biscuit is not that bad, bro. Settle down. Reading comprehension is a hell of a drug.
Overthrow the German Republic, both motivated by the hope that they would be the ones to come out on top in the aftermath. True. In so many ways, the communists unwittingly helped Nazis come to power. This was true not only in their street brawls by fighting with the Iron Front as their main enemy, but in government, where a good portion of the support
it's
for the
like
Nazi
not a K,
party
it's like
came
4K.
from very
What the
real
fuck?
fears about the threat of communism. Germans knew that communists had taken over Russia.
Yeah, but that's
They
like
knew about the Red
0.5%
Terror,
too.
and
So,
they knew that the
you know,
Soviet
context
government
matters.
was now trying to meddle in their affairs. The German Communist Party leader, Ernst Thal...
Oh, yeah, no, it's 4K and it's 97% reporting. There's 23. Oof, yeah, it looks really close. Holy shit. Maybe after this we'll start watching
was
that.
An admirer of Stalin who wanted Germany to follow in Russia's footsteps. And then eventually the German parliament reached a point where the Nazi Party and the Communist Party had so many seats between the two of them that it was impossible to form a majority governing coalition.
Wait, let me see this.
Party came from very real fears about the threat of communism. Germans knew that communists had taken over Russia. They knew about the Red Terror. And they knew that the Soviet government was now trying to meddle in their affairs. The German Communist Party leader, Ernst Thälmann, was an admirer of Stalin who wanted Germany to follow in Russia's footsteps.
I think if it's like 1%. So they need to extend the lead more.
And then eventually the German parliament reached a point where the Nazi Party and the Communist Party had so many seats between the two of them that it was impossible to form a majority governing coalition without involving at least one or the other. And for centrists and moderates throughout the country, the overt insanity of the communists and the communists' aggression toward them made a lot of people see the Nazis as probably the less destructive of the two. If the only way for the Republic to survive was to side with one extremist wing against the other...
Yeah, that's what I thought. Stumbling, if it's 0.25%, that's where the state will pay for it. But if it's less than 1%, they will, they can do it, okay? So if it's less than 1%. So if it's like 1.1%, we're set.
Giving Adolf Hitler a minor seat in government was a bitter pill that people were willing to swallow only because the communists managed to somehow seem even worse. Part of that may be that the Communist Party seemed to be aligning with a foreign threat, whereas at least the Nazi Party was on the side of Germany, and people already had a real-world example of the horrors of communism playing out in the East, whereas the horrors of the Nazi Party were, at that point in time, still entirely hypothetical. Nobody in Germany really knew how bad things were going to get. Personally, I still don't think that communism is really the lesser of two evils compared with fascism. Maybe it was the lesser of two compared with Nazi Germany specifically, but like fascist countries in general? I mean, what do fascists even do that's so terrible? They install a dictatorship and then they pilot society in such a way that maximizes their own power within the economy. And that's obviously pretty fucking terrible, but then the Communist Party does those things too. And then you become a satellite state of Russia for some reason, and then they completely destroy your economy and culture. It's basically just fascism, but worse.
Oof. Holy shit. I disagree with that take, but I'm also biased as well because of like how, you know, media has kind of shaped my opinion. I mean, yeah, but people are going to pay for her to do the recount. Like,
after World War II, one of the only things that everybody in the world agreed
like,
on was that Nazi Germany was bad. For this reason, there is a certain pride in being able to say that you were the ones who defeated them, who defeated the Nazi menace. And if you ask a far leftist today who defeated the Nazis, they'll almost certainly say the Soviet Union. And this often comes up as though it vindicates the Soviet Union, especially when I make the comparisons, which I do make because they are valid, between the Nazis and communists. People love to reply, who do you think defeated the Nazis? And they think the answer is the Soviet Union. But first of all, in 1934, a bunch of Nazis killed a bunch of other Nazis. Does that mean that Nazis aren't so bad because they killed Nazis? Just because two groups of people are both fucking terrible and one of them kill the other doesn't mean the first one is good. Second, the idea that the Soviet Union is the one that really defeated Nazi Germany is, well, there's a lot of problems with this.
By that logic, okay, the US also gave a lot of military supplies and propped up the Soviets to fight Nazi Germany, like...
Americans are often happy to celebrate the Allied victory in World War II as part of their own military history. And that is a good thing to celebrate. They are right to do so. However, a point that's sometimes made against them is that the US wasn't formally part of the war until 1941, and they only entered after they were attacked, not by European fascists, but by Japan. America certainly helped win the war, but they didn't enthusiastically sign up to save the world from fascism, the way Britain did. I think America...
If she doesn't have Republicans, thank you. The Night of the Long Knives, the SS purged the SA leadership. Yeah, well, you know, like Super Saiyans defeating the sexual assault leadership, like that doesn't sound so bad. I thought the Soviets weren't so bad back then. Well, according to the Americans. No, they were pretty bad still. Russo-Japanese War is interesting. Yes, it was, yeah.
should still
I'll be right back. I'm going to keep this playing. I just need to get some food. I'll be right back.
Celebrate their involvement in history, but it is something to consider that it wasn't quite as heroic as it could have been. And the exact same thing can be said about the Soviet Union. In 1939, well after Hitler had taken full control of government, and only a few weeks before Britain would declare war on Germany, The Soviet Union signed a non-aggression agreement with the Nazis called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, named partly for this Russian diplomat Vyacheslav Molotov, now mostly famous for being the person after whom Finnish rebels named the Molotov cocktail. The only reason the Soviet Union ended up at war with Nazi Germany is because 2 years later, the Nazis broke this agreement by attacking the Soviet Union in the June of 1941. And no, this was not a preemptive attack. The Soviet Union was not building up to attack Nazi Germany. They were totally cool just staying out of it. So the Soviet Union didn't enthusiastically sign up to save us from fascism either. Like America, they only participated after they got attacked and dragged into it. Now, some people point out the Soviet Union had the heaviest casualties of any country in the war, and indeed they somehow suffered more military losses than any other country, the only one to experience more military deaths than Nazi Germany itself. But there's a number of actual reasons for this, none of them being that the Soviets were, like, more anti-Nazi than the rest of us. The military tactics in the Eastern Front were just particularly brutal. Unlike in the West, Nazi Germany viewed this as a war of extermination. They wanted to control this area in the long term and have ethnic Germans settle here after the war. They were torching entire Russian villages along the way. It was just wanton destruction. The Soviet Union responded by mobilizing far more people than any other country in absolute numbers, partly because they simply had more people to draw from, but their military was not very effective. Their troops were poorly organized, poorly equipped, and lacking in good leadership. This is a problem exacerbated by an authoritarian government that purged experienced officers to root out people who were insufficiently loyal to Stalin. The German military may have eventually suffered the same sort of rot, as their authoritarian political culture would eventually result in the same loss of effectiveness the Red Army was experiencing, but the Russian side of things was a lot further along in that decline. The German military was simply far more effective, and they had technological superiority. By the 1930s, commanders in the Red Army, like Stalin himself, had a much higher tolerance for casualties than the military leadership in other countries.
Wonder if he knows about Simo Häyhä? Yes, I do. Very cool story. The White Death. I'm very aware of him.
This disregard for your own people's lives is itself another common byproduct of authoritarianism. There's no opposition party, you don't need to be worried about being criticized at home or needing to win re-election, so you're able to prioritize victory even at great cost to yourself. And the Soviet leadership was conscious of this trade-off. They knew that Russia had the largest population of any country in Europe, so even if they lost more men per battle, the Nazis would run out of men before they did. All in all, simply having the most casualties doesn't really translate to them having done the most to defeat the enemy. In the grand scheme of things, the answer to who deserves the most credit for defeating Nazism is obviously the United Kingdom, thanks in large part to the dedication, conviction, leadership, and clarity of Winston Churchill. That's right, this man is probably the least overrated of people in history we consider heroes. Now hang on a second though, actually. Let's take another step back. Even if there were a different set of facts here, even if the Soviet Union had enthusiastically joined the
No, he had way more than 500 kills. Oh, it was 500 kills. Oh, never mind. I was way off. Okay, my bad. I'll shut up.
The fight early on because they were so keen on saving the world from fascism, there's still a pretty important point just being overlooked here, which is that what is there to celebrate in one authoritarian regime taking lands from another? England and America liberated. The Soviet Union conquered. We freed people from the Nazis and gave them independence. The Soviet Union just tried to take the Nazis' place. If the West had not been so completely spent of resources by the end of the war, it would have been no less justified to march into Moscow and free the people there from the Bolshevik dictatorship than it was to do in Rome or Berlin. The Soviet Union were never the good guys, they were just the enemy of our enemy, an ally of convenience who, as soon as the greater threat was taken care of, went right back to being an enemy, which ironically is more than you can say about communists in the West. They won't even be allies of convenience to help you defeat fascism. They're just enemies through and through. Now, historically, I kind of talk about Nazis and communists like they're on the same level, and they are in theory. I mean, they're advocates of tyranny, enemies of liberty and democracy, but I don't mean to cause any confusion about the fact that today the threat level is not the same. We find ourselves under assault primarily by the right. There are some communists in our midst, but
That's what, yeah, but you can't, let yourself, like, fall asleep at the wheel, right? My dude, fucking leftist blame the UK for starting World War II. I really need to preface this. The 19th news. Yeah, I'd be careful to say. I mean, it looks like Crowley won. I think the next result will be what closes it out. But yeah, just because something's not a threat now doesn't mean it's not going to be a threat in the future, right? It's better, because one of the problems is after, like, when Donald Trump started his rise, there were a lot of people warning about it, but everyone was just too focused on making jokes about him, right? Now we're in the situation that we're in now, right? It is better to confront the far left now and to crush it than it is to wait for it to get worse. Because if the far left rises up as well, like, America's kind of cooked. The world would be cooked.
not as many, and they have very little power. The
I
far
imagine
right, on the
Iris
other
is
hand,
gonna have
has
the same take,
successfully
but better
built or
articulate.
infiltrated and taken over political parties that are actually capable of winning
More
elections.
articulate.
They now control or have sway in multiple powerful governments. They control the United States executive branch. They have significant sway over the Congress and judiciary. And in other countries, similar groups are rising and need to be fought against. The reason I try to bring attention to the problems with the far left is you don't want those ideas to be seeded and then linger and eventually spread in the long term, but also that in this battle against the far right, you should avoid thinking that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. More people need to realize that communists are not our friends. Communists are horrible for much the same reason that MAGA is. And you can very reliably predict that in the fight against fascism, they will backstab you at any opportunity if it will help their own cause. They will allow fascism to win if that's what it comes to. They
Yes.
don't care. It doesn't matter.
Because at the end of the day, okay, the far left basically aligned with anarchy or something? No, they aligned with fascist. Okay, I'll put it into perspective. Okay, hang on, I forgot to put my fucking glasses on. Okay, so if Donald Trump somehow runs in 2028 and wins, right? Is that bad for the far left? Anywhere near as much as it is bad for the moderate left? No, because the decline creates a power vacuum within the progressive movement that enables the far left to rise up, right? A destabilized political environment also greatly benefits the far left. So you have to ask yourself the question of what is the end goal for the far left versus liberals, right? Liberals do not want the destabilization of the West, because if the West destabilizes, it leads to real world harm for people, right? People lose their jobs, people go hungry, people lose their rights. You know, there's a lot of negative things that come from the destabilization of the West. Whereas leftists do not like the West. They want it to erode. They want to destroy it, because then they can have their own little communist utopia come up, right? That is why Hassan Piker minimizes January 6th. Because to him, he doesn't see that as a big issue, right? But when Joe Biden doesn't do what he wants in Israel and Gaza, well, all of a sudden that's an existential threat, right? So
to them. They'll just shrug and blame the loss on you. They'll just say, oh look, liberalism is giving way to fascism again. They've already come up with a way of justifying this. It's consistent with their own internal group beliefs. They've done it many times before. You shouldn't expect anything different this time around. They oppose liberty, democracy, and rule of law, the things that prevent them from just seizing power, and they hate these values way more than they hate fascism. If you allow these people into your movement, into your company, into your political party, into your tent, your coalition, whatever you want to call it, they'll basically act in a way that's indistinguishable from being controlled opposition by the right. They will spend more time attacking you than attacking what's supposed to be your common enemy. The truth is that in their mind, you are their main enemy. They're just going to divide everybody and then focus on trying to convert people from your part of the coalition to theirs in hopes that one day they can take it over. And in the meantime, they don't care whether your movement wins or loses, fails or succeeds against the right,
yes.
so long as they think they'll be the ones leading the movement in the aftermath.
Yes.
Instead of a negative identity that's simply anything not of the far right, you should be clear about what you actually stand for, in order to oppose Nazism without including communism, and to oppose communism without including Nazism. We need to better develop our own version of something like the Center Coalition and the Iron Front, for there to be some semblance of unity between people who still believe in the tenets of liberal democracy. If we search our history, there really is ample material with which to build an identity like this. We just need to do the work of actually putting it together and articulating it and defending it. That's what I'm interested in at this point. And
also, I just wanted to say bye-bye, Stumbling. Thank you for coming by.
that is the mission and purpose on which I invite any of you to join me, if you're interested.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. But anyway, guys, I have been streaming for 3 hours. So I think I'm going to stop it there. Because, you know, I'm kind of sick of you all, you know? I'm just kidding. Now, unfortunately, I cannot raid people because I am under 1,000 subs, and I believe it means I can't raid anyone. But if you can all do me the massive favor of subscribing to my channel, because I want more subs, you know? Who doesn't? And also, please show love to Iris. Iris is really, really cool. They are a member of the Liberal Action Network along with me. And they are very cool. And hit the like, you know. I really appreciate everyone that has actually stopped by today. You know, I really had fun. And, you know, love you all. Even if you're a dude, you know, I love you too, you know. I don't care how that looks. You know? I'm glad you were streaming sooner. I know, right? Well, that's because I wasn't at work today. Because I have the flu. But, yeah, again, thank you all so much. It really means a lot. And I will catch you all later. Please subscribe. I need more subscriptions so that I can have more subs than, I don't know, Moist Critical one day. True. Let's just aim for the stars. All right. Bye-bye.